You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Sue's perfections, ooh, Sin City, Montana, Coke Boys, ooh, we run the city, homie tryna keep up, ooh, they going broke, I'll finish your career, ooh, get a rope,
Warning, 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 warning.
Dope money, ooh,
That Montega
in the spot, getting guap, ooh,
that's hard labor.
in the club, popping bottles,
Yeah, we blowing that sour.
hand for the real niggas,
Rest of these niggas cowards.
how you want it,
How you want it?
hands gun or the knife,
Soon as your man see the barrel,
he gon' run for his life,
bullets flying.
bullets flying.
Oh, now I can't be unsupervised.
What up? This
Hello.
is Bleeding Edge.
Hey guys. What's up?
What's up, Billy? What's up, Tico?
Billy in the house?
Wind. Yeah, you're right, Wind. You can't screw this one up now by being unsupervised. I'm just joking. We got a show for you today. Infamous Rifle should be coming by. It's funny. I was talking to Wind a couple hours ago before the show started, and I was like, it's weird because I've said things that were much worse than certain people, and they are being crucified right now by the manosphere. And I was trying to figure out what the difference is between me and other people, and Win too. And it's the fact that we don't really come out as outright as dating or talking to women. And so a lot of the manosphere leaves us alone. Whereas like other people who say stuff that's not even as bad as we say, like in terms of criticism, they get crucified all because because people think that they're dating or they are. And so it's like if you aren't, or if you try to portray that you aren't, it's almost like the manosphere trusts you more than if they think that you're maybe messing around with.
What if you said to them that you ended up marrying yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's almost like they feel safer around you if you're not.
Here's the thing, y'all got to take into consideration. Well, Wen's just a different story and a different breed altogether. So they typically just leave Wind alone altogether. Typically, I think they leave Wind alone because how far I'm willing to go. So they just leave Wind alone altogether because how far I'm willing to go when it comes to dealing with Wind. Because Wind is one of them people who'll go back and forth with you, but if it goes too far, and if I say I got it, I'll handle it, then you know it's pretty much going to go all the way off the cliff into like hell, basically, and back. That's why they typically don't really mess with Wind when it comes to stuff like that. And I think Wind's pretty much an upstanding guy any damn way, so they're not really going to mess with him on that. It's kind of like Billy. They're not really going to mess with Billy on things for the fact that Billy is who Billy is, and Billy's very intelligent, and Billy has Billy's also very witty, and he has quick comebacks like me. Sometimes Billy's a lot faster than me when it comes to witty comebacks as well too. But typically, picking with Billy's like almost like picking with TFM or picking with Sandman. You're just too quick for you.
Well, yeah, they know I'm not going to take the bait as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just like TFM is just bored and he just doesn't even want to be there. So that's his attitude.
Well, no, it's more so the fact that what I'm saying is Billy's basically, when it comes to intellect and smarts, he's basically there.
I know what they're up to.
When it comes to it. They don't mess with you. They don't really mess with you for two reasons. One, you wear your heart on your sleeve, which is something I never do. And two, you were dubbed Tico Trend Jr.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that you mean well when you say things versus when other people say things, they don't mean well, or they're saying stuff against the manosphere for all intents and purposes. This
Well,
is
I
why.
know what I noticed. They're very sensitive when it comes to shitting on the way out. But when I look at who they can accuse of doing that, they're really just all they're doing is just like having some light criticism, and they consider that like an attack or shitting on them or something like that. When it's really they're just like all they're doing is saying, yeah, it no longer works for me, and here's why, and that's
Well,
considered
no,
shooting.
because here's the sad part about that is you missed the underlying thing. You missed it's almost like a read between the lines thing. Because when people do it, they do it it's one thing to do it tongue in cheek. It's another thing to be disrespectful when you do it. And one of those things where you're like, you stick up your middle finger and say, read between the lines type thing. And that's typically what a lot of people do on their way out the door. And it sucks. And that's the part that you're actually missing. The fact that they're shooting people on the way out the door like that. And they're trying to act like, oh my God, see how they treat me? See, and this is why I don't want to be a part of it. And they do that stuff on a regular basis. And that's the part that you're missing. Now, I don't know what group two people you're speaking of because I haven't heard anything that, and I've been busy with life. But typically, when it comes about if they are being treated a certain way, 9 times out of 10 they deserve it. Now, there's an off chance, there's that 1% chance that they don't deserve it, and people are overreacting. I will admit that. However, over majority of them actually deserve what they get coming to them. Sadly, because the stuff that they say, how they go about it, and the whole entire read between the line thing. Like, case in point, if I was just shooting everybody in the back on the way out the door, it'd be understandable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It'd be understandable and deserved for all intents and purposes. I shoot people in the back because a lot of people have done me wrong.
Right.
Whereas these people, nobody's really done them wrong. They basically got everything out of the manosphere, and they got the subs, the likes, they got the MGTOW groupies, they got all the shit, and now they went out basically. That's the problem with a lot of those people. It's kind of like, think of it like Angry Man.
Yeah, they're like kind of hanging on to see what they can get.
I remember that.
They're basically like Angry Man. Think of it like Angry Man, and that's what they're doing. Or like Bulldog Mindset.
Oh yeah.
Or
people
who've literally shot people in the back. People who and like people still accept these people, and people still listen to these people and talk to these people and still hang with these people. And the sad part about that is
they shot you in the back.
They shot you in the back, and some took the knife, stabbed you in the back, twisted it 9 times, and still is twisting the knife in your back. But you treat them like
royalty.
They walk on water or something like that. Or royalty, yeah. And it's sad. That's the problem with a lot of these people. A lot of these people who do it, they literally go deep and try to cut people on the way out the door.
I've always said this. If I were to leave the manosphere, I would literally try to at least have even if it's just a couch to sleep on. You never kick in teeth on your way out the door. You always leave with dignity and respect. Because eventually you're gonna have to come back. If you're poor with your decision making, you're gonna end up back anyway. So it's best to have as many backup plans, or at least have a couch to sleep on if you do come back.
One of the things I've noticed when they leave and they try to devalue and shame whatever group they've left, it's in part because they haven't actually, they're declaring they're going their own way or something like that, but not really, because if they were, they wouldn't be bad mouthing anyone on the way out.
Yeah, right. That's typically how it works. They're trying to get clicks and views, more clicks and views on the way out and start a beef. Like I always said, the best way to get more clicks and views is to start a beef.
Yeah, and it builds their self-esteem up because it makes them feel like they're leaving. So it makes them feel better if they can kind of like crap on the people they've left behind. Right. So they've ascended, and you petty people that I've left behind are beneath me, kind of thing. You're scum. That's why I left you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a terrible.
Yeah.
That's a terrible
Well, it's like
mindset to have.
somehow if they can lump a majority of people into whatever it is that they can villainize in the first place, whether it be like, oh, you guys all subscribe to the Hollywood narrative, or you all like eat a certain product, like food product, and therefore it's like they can easily make a villain out of you, and then they take that opportunity rather than just like trying to just agree to disagree, or just analyze like, what is it about me that's making it so I can't, gel with these groups of people. They're just like, oh, they all, blah 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 and such. They all do this, so it's easy. They just like try to write you off, which I mean, it doesn't do. It's not good because it doesn't respect their viewpoint. Oh, we got a guest.
Hey, I heard you guys were talking about me. What's that about?
Oh, Jack Murphy.
Yeah, I heard you were talking about me. What's that about, bud?
Oh, what's that about?
Jack Murphy, everybody. Jack Murphy in the house.
Yeah, you were talking about me saying that I like to piss on my woman's face. What's that about?
Oh, really? Great. That's good to know.
Yeah, what's that about?
What's that about? Is it true?
You tell us. Is it true?
Well, I'd like to know that too. I don't know
What's going on? Why you guys talk about me like that?
Oh,
We don't give a darn. Because I don't care. None of us care. You came in with a panel with a whole bunch of people that don't care.
Listen, I have a lot of followers, and they pay me lots of money to talk to people, and you guys are messing up my image.
I don't care.
That sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be some disagreement.
Screw your image
with your lifestyle, Jack. It's not everybody. Not everybody subscribes.
Hey, I spent a lot of time on my image, and I spent a lot of time on my membership. You guys want to be alphas? You just gotta join, okay?
Don't curse at me. I don't want to be an alpha.
Yeah, alphas are for lames.
You guys,
stop cursing at me.
You guys got any cum for sale?
No. No. I flushed mine.
You do a pretty good job of getting that stuff on your own.
I flushed mine.
Yeah, you're kind of actually. I support Jack Murphy. He's like right in the middle of the line between the person who has their 30th punch card for Burger Town almost finished, and a guy who's advocating for vegan, to treat animals as animals going their own way, and like he's kind of like right in the center point of that. So I mean, we strongly, we welcome him back. He can come back in the future.
Yeah.
He was a little emotional. He was a little emotional, but it comes with the territory of.
He's being spit roasted by both parties.
Pretty much. Oh, it's like that. If you're looking for clarity and looking to expand your perception, like the best thing that you want to be is somebody that the manosphere hates, and you also want to be trying to grift off of them, because that's where you'll learn the most about yourself, because everybody will be against you at that point. Like you'll have the manosphere against you, you'll have outside the manosphere people hate you, and just that's like a perfect position for you to really learn about yourself and like learn exactly where you screwed up. But it's like if you're well liked, it's almost like you get put into a bubble and you never really like transcend that bubble, because like you're just put on the pedestal. And like I've noticed that about certain people. Maybe they can grow in their own right, but like the people that support them won't let them like tarnish their image. That makes sense of that about them. Like it'll be like, oh, just stay our little MGTOW, our little solid rock. Seems like they're kind of like over investing in certain people. Emotionally, I should say. The financial stuff is a different story. But yeah, Jack Murphy, he's got his issues. I thought he was going to come around a little bit earlier, when we were actually talking about him, but he decided to butt his head in now.
Man, it took his sweet time.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of.
Johnny come lately.
Yeah, he edged to the. Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's also that. There's a lot of people that are just now learning about the manosphere. So I think where I differ from them, I guess, in like terms of my temperament, is like I'm like not like willing to accept a lot of new people, which kind of puts me in the category of like entryist, and then where the MGTOWs are at too, because like they don't, I don't know, they don't really trust people that much either, or like trust just randos coming on as content creators either. They like to vet people, which like I also like to vet people too. I don't like people just like skating on in, and because that's why people are upset, is because they're getting shot in the back by people that were like co-signed by others.
Right.
You know, they just get passed under the radar, like, oh yeah, this guy's cool. All of a sudden, shots, stabbed in the back, twisted. Yeah.
And then when they fight, they eat the people. But when it comes to the people that ain't gonna stab in the back, well, they doggone sure forget about them.
It's like the girls at work. Like it's almost like predatory behavior. Like if you can't provide them all the talking points that they can use in their life, they just kind of pass you up. Like next, you're not good enough. I like when I first entered in, yeah, I was enthusiastic about it, but I started to stray from the talking points a little bit faster than your average person, and I showed my face, so that immediately gave people a reason to write me off. And then you have history, which is like the Manosphere and the Friday Night Blaze, and them cheering and like getting behind as some of like getting behind us almost like we're like some social cause. And I was compromised too. It was a weird situation. It was kind of like we lost sight of what was going on pretty fast. It like all devolved after the group got too big and bloated, and there wasn't like good communication.
Right.
So what did I don't know what kind of happened. It was like I think there was a peak or something where in the middle of like the height of this, where everyone expected that we were all going to be together and start a revolution together and stuff, and it's like
a fairy tale.
Yeah, but then it's just like they don't want to admit that the philosophy is a group. So it's like, okay, who's going to start the revolution if there's
back again? Cypher.
Oh.
Welcome.
Oh, hello. How you guys doing?
I'm breathing.
I saw you guys were streaming, and who the fuck is Jack Murphy?
Oh, hell. He takes his daily dose of zinc.
Well, like what's his fucking? Because I've never heard of him, but he's asking about buying cum from you guys. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Hey,
because Rifle's gonna be here. He can explain it. He's basically a guy that the Manosphere and turned everything into being being a strong man. Did you see his thumbnail, or like did you see his avatar?
Yeah, like he was shirtless.
Like it's legitimate look. Like we aren't in it isn't like Roman society. You can't just walk around with a beard that big with silver sideburns that are that.
Hey,
this dude turned Silver Fox into Silver Nine-tailed Fox all on one side of it, all on the sides of his face.
Does that guy have a history or something? Because I mean, he sounds. I don't know if he was joking, but he says he's got a membership thing or something. What the fuck is that about? That's shirtless too. That was fucking odd.
The liminal. Yeah, you want to join? You want to join the liminal order? I think, or the Seminole order.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Seminole, like semen, like jizz.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I have my own order when it comes to jizz around here, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I typically flush mine.
Oh, well,
But
that's probably good.
another guy in the list of people that the manosphere at one point trusted, or gained the trust of certain people, and then I don't know, through a process of just ego and delusion, managed to lose that trust and exploit that trust and try to get as much out of it as possible from people.
What in the world is this? Basically,
Kind
what
of
it
seems
is they did a wonderful job sucking up the competition. You know.
Yeah, Single Town Bachelor says Google it, Cypher, or else you can pay for 18 years.
Oh wait, you know what? No, we talked about this guy before. Never mind. I remember him now. Oh yeah, he's a fucking loser. What am I talking about? I totally blanked. It's been so long. Holy fuck.
You're fine. Yeah, he just snaked his way on back over here. Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
People try to use the edge for clout. They try to get clout. They try to come challenge Wind, apparently. Or no, well, they don't challenge Wind, really. They come and just try to start. They always think that when we talk about stuff, we're talking directly about them. We're just talking in general about things. So then they think that we're attacking them. This is where I get my whole attitude towards the manosphere from, is because they prove it to me in my comments and on my panels. Yeah.
Speaking of which, what's the topic for today anyway? What are you guys on about?
Today we're talking about the manosphere, blanket mistrust, water and alternative health, and delusional dating preferences.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just I think I'll hang out a bit because I don't quite know where to even start with that. So.
Well, the thing about blanket mistrust is I was kind of getting a kick out of watching the January 6th committee trial, where it's just them storming the Capitol, and everybody there is like, yes, Donald Trump sent me here, and it's just it makes it very hard to be, or it makes it more exciting to be a conservative, because you have to defend. You don't really necessarily have an easy position to defend, given the fact that all of that footage was taken of, them doing a violent takeover of the Capitol, quote unquote, violent takeover of the Capitol.
Yeah, exactly. Quote unquote. Exactly right.
You have all the stupidity to basically say, okay, no, that's not us. That was, it's hard to actually support a compelling point when they use that as a, just to shut you up. They're like, oh yeah, well, what about January 6th? And then it's just like, okay, well, that's I don't know. Anyway, help me out here, guys. Is that, how do you say, well, that's not being a conservative. That's just being an idiot. Or that's just, why would we have so many checks and balances in place just to, if we just are upset, we just storm the Capitol?
Well, the only way, excuse me, the only way I can think about it, if the check and balances fail at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the among many other things, especially the certain health related things that are going on now, I can just tell that a lot of what fuels the hatred and online is just this blanket mistrust of the government and anything that can be used to dehumanize other people. It's just, oh, you support the government, or you support dating. Like in the manosphere, they say women are agents of the government, and they just want your money, or they're just there to take advantage of you. And so there's so much fear mongering that you to.
Well, I see it as the only people that are agents of the government are the people that pick and choose the people that are people that pick the women that are trash. You know, you know, like if you're picking this person who is hot dirty dumpster juice, you marry this person that is hot dirty dumpster juice. Guess what? You're just as much of an agent as that person, because the person divorced you, take you for alimony and child support. Guess what? You're just as big of an agent.
Yeah,
Just what it is.
most people can't even trust. I mean, most people don't want to trust anybody. You know, they even are nervous around other men in the manosphere, because there's like a lot of competition. You can tell there's a lot of competition for platforms, like how people will like try to stream snipe you or overlap their streams in order to try to steal your views. There's all kinds of stuff like raiding people raiding other people's streams. Oh look, Corey Steele, Jack Murphy's live with 41,000 subscribers. Yeah, no matter even though he got caught doing that stuff, he still has, you know, all those subscribers, which it doesn't make sense to me, because like people like him, that number is so inflated because of the way that he promotes himself. It's like, how many of those people are just drifters over from Facebook? Like if everything wasn't connected like Google and Facebook, and you could link all your accounts and stuff, it would be like that would represent something a little bit more accurate to me. But 41K subscribers. Whoa, what does that mean? Even views, like somebody just probably has it on in the background or something, and they're not actually paying attention to it.
Maybe like 10 people have it all on the background and not paying attention to it.
Yeah, and how many of those subscribers are people like me that would just subscribe to him just to listen to him say the dumb stuff so they can use, or they can make content out of him. Plenty of people make content out of him. He's basically just a lol cow.
But the thing is, what it equates to is like a type of success. So it doesn't necessarily matter if it's positive or negative. It's like notoriety. So success equates to like getting attention. Equates to significance. It means this is someone that matters, kind of thing, be it good or bad. So people are drawn to it, and it becomes like an appealing thing for other people. It's like they get jealousy and they're envious of they want a similar sort of status, so they unfortunately aspire. It doesn't really matter if it's a positive or a negative role model. It's the aspiration to an entity that is perceived as being successful. They've got 40.
Never get that far, right? That thought process. It's like they could be the first, you know, bisexual manosphere guru guy, and actually like carve out a niche and have people respect them, but they're afraid of losing people that would not just not subscribe to them about that. They gotta like do all this deception and be, oh no, I did do that in the past, but here's how I justify it. And
First things foremost, they fail to ask the right questions, and they fail to notice when a person's acting funny when they ask those questions. You know, they fail to ask the right question. It's almost like if I don't ask that question, there's no. It's like they bury their heads in the sand when it comes to certain questions that needed to be asked in the first place. You know, they're like ostriches.
Damn, we are just.
But that only kind of matters to people who care about like integrity. If you've got someone who doesn't really care about a legitimate path to success, you know, that they're happy to cheat, they're happy to cut corners, they're happy to underhand someone, they're happy to manipulate and deceive, then those kind of questions don't really, they wouldn't have any value to them. they would become redundant. There'd be a point that they're not. The objective is not to be above board and logical and reasonable and sensible. The objective is to gain power.
No, right. Otherwise, you'd see that grow more organically. Like I said, these fit with everybody, and it's like with I experienced it in terms of like the 1,000 to 2,000 subscriber range. It's like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, that person has over 1,500 subscribers. Da 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 da. They're using their platform to hate on the manosphere. You all may know who I'm talking about, but it's just like it's how much of it is just like I said, it's just they just distrust people, or they try to make something seem so dramatic, like, oh, these 2,000, should they have access to these 2,000 people, and they're feeding them lies about us and all of this, when it's just like if they were to focus on their own message, they wouldn't have to worry about somebody preaching some sort of like negativity about them to a small group of people that might not even be, they not even all be fully conscious or fully be coherent when they're even playing your stuff in the first place.
And so most of the time they aren't.
Thanks, Grifter. Thanks for the definition. A person who engages in petty or small-scale swindling. Yeah, so you have a lot of those people. I think in order to make a healthy environment to grow grifters, you kind of have to just have this like paranoia and this mistrust of other people. Because anytime you hate on them, they're like, "Oh, you're just jealous," because they're successful.
Okay.
Yeah. But they never put that back in the other direction. Like, oh, when they call people broke, or when they call people, oh, you guys are just,
miserable and dusty and broken something.
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, they're just jealous because they have to be successful. They can't let themselves just be normal and accept themselves. So maybe they're just jealous of other people who just try to improve themselves so they don't have to be taken advantage of. But that'll never get pushed into the mainstream. I mean, we already are in such like dire situation as it is. Like, most people look at somebody like Jack Murphy and are like, wow, how has he managed to stay afloat during this economic downturn? And wow, he must really be preaching real stuff.
Yeah, he must be really preaching real stuff. He's managed to stay afloat because he's been getting donations, super chats.
Yeah,
I mean, the super chats dry up. Guess what? He's sinking like the rest of us.
He's basically staying afloat because a lot of people have ADHD, basically, and people's memory is short term. Therefore, they don't remember a lot of the stuff that went on not too long ago, or they forget it very easily, sadly.
Yeah,
or they're willing to overlook stuff, and that basically lets you know the type of people you're dealing with when you're dealing with people like that.
They have a memory of a fruit fly.
Rifle in the house.
Rifle. Can you hear me, man? Are you there, man?
Shit, I'm on mute here. What's up, guys?
Only you.
Only me.
I'm breathing.
Not you. I'm talking about Rifle on mute.
I had muted my mic. That's all, Raven. It's all good. I'm a little late, but I'm here.
Hey.
Excuse me.
Show up. Don't worry about it. Yeah, there was quite a bit. Wait, did I already finish? Yeah, I was talking about the January 6th thing.
Oh shit!
I saw footage of the woman getting pushed, like the female cop getting pushed over, and like everybody just storming over her, and damn near her getting pinned to the staircase, and like a bunch of feelings came over my mind. Like I was like at one point I'm like, come on, guys, are you really just trying to like trample over this poor woman? And then the second thing is like, why isn't anybody running to help her out. Like she's just literally by herself.
My thought process is I need more popcorn.
Well, that's crowd mentality, and I just happen to be trained in riot control, and that's pretty normal. Like people get into this like massive group think, and they just follow everybody else. There's usually an instigator, which is who you're supposed to bring the shields out and snatch and grab before it gets this bad. But once shit hits the fan, they're not paying, most people are not paying much attention to what one individual is doing or what's happening with them. They just know this is the crowd's goal. This is what we're going to do. And they do it without really thinking a whole lot. Whereas like you get any one of these individuals by themselves, like standing around on the street, they ain't gonna act like that.
They ain't gonna bust a grape in a food fight.
Right. They're going to think about what they're doing and be like, I don't think that's a good idea. But the crowd dynamics makes them not think about that.
Because it's like, it's basically like, as long as they're doing this with me, I think I'm safe.
It's that feeling of safety, exactly.
Like I said, I am trained in riot control as well.
Well, it's like the opposite feeling. Like if it would have been a bunch of, if it would have been like majority, black people that would have stormed the Capitol on January 6th, I feel like it'd be a much more violent outcome. But
what do you mean by that though?
I mean, but primarily like the way that they like broke, like the way that they broke in and were we're running around and messing around with the police. I feel like it would have been a different outcome if they would have been a different. If they would.
There was Well, here's the thing that you fail to realize about that, Yan. The cops actually let a lot of them in.
Yeah, the cops opened the doors up.
They opened the gates and opened the doors to let them in. The sad part about that, the thing about the Capitol building, it's actually a public place, so anybody can come and go as they please.
Right. And they stayed between those ropes. It's not even like they were running around like tearing everything up. They actually stayed between the ropes like a person who was on tour would do. That's what I thought was pretty damn funny once they got in.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said, I was thinking I need more popcorn.
I
know that's a little bit messed up.
Well, there's been a lot of fuck shit that went on with all that.
Yeah. And then you also got the propaganda.
Oh, the propaganda machine is in full blast and has been since 2016.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it seems even more useless now because there really is no way out of this. Like I said, out of this depression that we're going into. Like nobody's gonna be safe. No one's gonna have more. No one's money's gonna be any more valuable than another person. It's like everyone's gonna have to pay the same amount of high, out ridiculous prices for things. It's just like everybody. I feel like what's the point of like revolting in this way, protesting when this is
entertainment for the rest of us. Yeah, this is entertainment for me. I mean, I know I'm a little bit messed up, but I find this entertaining. I find it laughable that people can sit here and literally just milk this for everything it's worth and still get nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious, man. Because and
they're being fueled by nothing more than just somebody's voice, like a charismatic person saying so. You have that with the Capitol, and then you have that with like everybody been like standing behind Amber Heard or the flat Earth. Every ridiculous way of thinking nowadays automatically has 100,000 people that have automatically support it. When it's like reversely, it's hard to find a group of people that are willing to actually acknowledge and work with one another that have reasonable, thought out plans for things, and then they get labeled as satanic, or they get labeled as
all emotional. It's planned this way, but it's all emotional thinking. Logic and reason are not in style anymore.
Yeah. It's like that's the problem. There's a problem when logic and reasoning is not in style. It means that
problem.
It means that people gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Oh boy, people gonna get hurt bad.
I mean, and people are told to not believe their lying eyes. So yeah, I mean, should the people have stormed the Capitol? Probably not. But what were they actually doing? Like I said, they stayed between the ropes. They took out their phones, started live streaming themselves. You know, just dicking around.
Which is pretty harmless, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it, but you listen to the left, particularly the politicians, and they, that was the worst thing in the world. That was a huge insurrection. They tried to take over the government. Like,
and according to it's worse than 9/11. Like, are you crazy?
Worse than 9/11, right. Well, that's the thing too. Like they say, they blame like trans self-deletion as a result of conservative talking points is the reason why there's so much putting yourself on AFK mode in real life.
Well, this is something I wanted to bring up earlier, but I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I think there's just a lot more mentally ill people in the world, right?
I mean, really interpret this stuff as all of this stuff that really like are even aware of all of this stuff. Like you talk about people who have certain traits, like psychological traits, being hypersensitive to stuff, where a normal or an acclimated person is just like, what, there's a problem? I don't necessarily see a problem in calling you a he or a she, but like just like super honed in on what they're, those functions of language.
Well, trans people are mentally ill people that want you to acknowledge their mental illness as reality. They're, and accept their mental illness as real. Well, I'm sorry, you put on a wig and lipstick and whatever else you do, you don't have a vagina or ovaries and you can't give birth to a child, so you're not a goddamn woman. I don't care what you say.
Nip tuck, vacuum suck.
But what is a woman? but what is a woman anyway? These fucking retards in positions of government power and shit trying to tell you that your kids should be taught about sex and other things like that before the parents are fine with it, and trying to say, oh, this ain't fucking happening. Do you people know that Live Leak used to exist? We know everything about you cunts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I think it still does.
Yeah, I actually think it does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You said mentioned live. I thought that was just a site for like showing gore and something like that.
Oh no!
But they show all kinds of stuff. I mean, not just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was just for like natural disasters, car crashes, and videos and stuff. That's why I thought Live Leaks was about.
I mean, it did garner a reputation for being like, if not best gore, Live Leak would be the place you go, or Karen's boat, wherever the fuck it's called. And like, you would find all these like sources of like the underbelly of creation, right? Where you have like I said, Rotten.com and Karen or Sharon's boat, whatever the fuck it's called. And then there was Live Leak. Live Leak, from what I understand, went down, although I think maybe there's like a replacement site or something that sort of supplements that hole in their heart that's left over. It's like there are various sources out there. You don't even need the fucking dark web to see a woman impaled. I mean, fuck, best score, if it's still the same way it was before last I checked, best score is still with their fucking banner at the top. They still have, and I think the picture is real, of a woman who's been impaled through the anus and through the mouth, and she's just spit roast, hanging tits out and everything, and she's fucking dead if she's real. So like shit like that is out there. It's real. It's not real. It's really not hard. But the worst part about all this for these people who are scared of shit like Live Leak and people with a machete is they're pushing people towards becoming the Live Leak machete wielder, and they don't want. They don't understand. This is what I hate about people going, oh, if you kill those people, they're going to be a martyr. If you kill those people, they'll be a martyr. It's like, yeah, well, I'm fine with that because that helps me see who the enemies are, and I want that. You think I'm scared of fucking martyrs? No, martyrs are good for us. It helps us wipe out the problems. Like, it's really not that hard to figure out. But I know some people are scared of that because they think they have to wait for other people to say the silent parts out loud. Realistically, if we're going to come close to anything like a civil war, trust me, it'll probably be good for us.
Probably a lot better than a world war.
Well, it'd be better for the administration to like to stomp out a civil war than it would be to just like constantly sit in gridlock, because you could have so much more stability after a civil war. It's like unbelievable if you actually could pull it off. But they're afraid of these people who literally think that the president said at one point to inject soap into your veins. Like they're afraid of what giving a person an assault rifle that thinks that is it capable of doing.
Look,
it's totally under. I mean, I relate to that fear, because
let me tell you,
you don't want to give them
before you finish that statement, Yam. I have this burning question. What is an assault rifle?
Nothing. It literally has nothing to do with. Oh, but yeah, go ahead. What is it? What is an assault
I
rifle?
can answer that, but yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, first things foremost, if you really look back in history, an Enfield muzzleloader was an assault rifle. A Winchester trapdoor rifle was an assault rifle. A Winchester lever action rifle was an assault rifle.
Yeah,
M1 Garand.
Weapons of war.
Weapons of war. So what has changed? First things foremost, in fact, I could tell you that the muzzle loader, the single shot muzzle loader, and the freaking M1 Garand are still used by the military, usually in drill and ceremony. But guess what? Are they considered assault rifles?
No, you're saying technically they are?
My definition for assault rifle is really simple. An assault rifle is a rifle used to assault someone or something. I just leave it at that. That really makes it real simple. I think maybe it's wrong to some people that maybe that definition doesn't work. But I mean, like, if I use a Bowie knife to cut butter, that's my fucking butter knife, dude.
Exactly. I use a K-bar bayonet to cut my steak. I use a Bowie knife to cut my steak. That's my steak knife.
K-bar is a steak knife.
A K-bar is a steak knife.
Those of you who want the actual technical definition before politicians try to get it changed, it's a rifle like an AR-15 that has select fire capability. This means it can actually go true full auto or 3-round burst generally.
But the problem is civilians don't have access to true assault rifles.
Exactly. So civilians don't actually have access to true assault rifles unless you're fucking loaded, because you have to go through an extensive background check. You got to pay a lot of money because they don't manufacture those anymore. So you're buying off of like a collector or something.
You're buying off the military itself. It's like and you don't want the military's assault rifle because it's sold to by the lowest bidder.
And you're paying, like, you could buy a brand new car for what? Like, if you wanted like an M4, you basically could buy a brand new car for less, and then you would pay for that. So just saying,
wow,
it's not like any scrub off the street can get an actual true assault rifle. You generally have to have quite a bit of money and connections. Like you could get a M249 saw if you really wanted to, if you were fucking loaded and had a good background.
But the problem is it's not going to be a M249 saw. It's going to be a dumbed down version of it.
No, you can get it the real deal if you're rich. Now they do make a semi-auto version of it, but I'm not paying $8,000 for that shit. So I don't know about any of you guys, but there is a dumbed down version of the 249 saw. But no, I know of people that have real ones. You either have to have a certain firearms license or be loaded, or really both.
I do believe I think it's a class 3.
I believe so, yes.
But the thing even without the dumbed down version, it's one arm, one leg, and for your firstborn child.
Yeah, $8,000 is what it was up to get the semi-automatic M249 saw. It's called the 249S. Coming from FN Herstel, I believe. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
crazy.
don't have 8K to just throw around like that.
Well, nobody people just don't have that kind of money to throw around, and yet they're willing to talk about who gets to buy, who is allowed to purchase something or not. So it's like
What?
I don't know if that's a meritocracy, or if that's like a real legitimate democracy where it's just like just
The way
because
I
you don't like that somebody can purchase something, you want to make it, you want to outlaw it, or you want to change the definition of
the
it.
way I see it, I know my mentality is a little bit whacked, but the way I see it, the laws ain't doing nothing. So the way I see it, if you basically are born, if you basically are born an American citizen in a hospital, just you get a voucher right next to your birth certificate for a firearm from the government.
I've
For
always
one
said
firearm.
that you need to be able to protect yourself, and that's another thing these people will never get through their fucking heads. They think that they are entitled to be protected. You know, like, yeah, I don't want to walk down the street and be attacked or anything either, but I'm prepared in case that situation comes up. I'm armed, I'm trained, I know what I'm doing, and I stay aware of my surroundings.
Exactly. But the thing is like what I see it is like once every civilian gets a right next to the birth from the womb, you get a gun. You get a free you get a voucher for a pistol. You can cash in at any military base or at any gun store, paid for by the government at birth. You get training from the first time you enter school to the graduation. You get training on how to use it, how to clean it, how to load it, how to disassemble, unload, or whatever.
Yep.
From birth. I guarantee you, it's going to work a lot better than any gun law. I mean, if it sounds crazy. It sounds absolutely bonkers.
But I see it working. That's the thing. I see that working more in a smaller country than the United States. Like if it was like a small island or something, it'd be easier to do because it's less expensive. But putting a gun in everybody's hands, like I just think is easier the smaller the scale. I may be wrong because we have factories and we
pay taxes, don't we? We pay taxes, don't we?
Yeah,
we pay taxes. So it's state taxes. You're born in that state, you get a gun in that state, which is more affordable.
Fellas, let me just illustrate how easy this is. How easy it is to understand red pill in the wind. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've been there. MGTOW in the wind.
Close enough.
Whoever it was that said, I'm sure it'll work a lot better if you have like kids. The whole, turn this in for a pistol at like a military base, that kind of stuff. Tell me, this is how easy it is to understand that this could work a lot better than like gun control, right? Because gun control is leftists force the police to die in the street to, a hail of gunfire from law-abiding citizens who won't give up their guns because they shouldn't, all right? Tell me how much easier it is to understand that this will work if you just think about without mentioning Greece, Rome, or Africa, which societies from childbirth to some age of maturity were they involved in learning like how to use a spear or a sword? How many societies aside from Rome, Greece, and Africa can you think of? And at the same time, a lot of those societies are still thriving, or they were quite successful. Maybe tradition even carries on still.
Sweden, I do believe it's Sweden, the Swiss. I do believe. I think it's one of those Scandinavian countries. Norway. Let's see. I know the Swiss have it on there, and they're still thriving. I think somewhere in Norway, they're doing just fine. Let's see. In Jordan, they were told about them having a whole bunch of firearms in their house per capita, and they teach the children how to use their firearms. Their country is loaded. Jordanians are loaded. I mean, some of them. I mean, even the poor ones are more loaded. Are loaded.
It's a Muslim country, right?
Yeah, it's a Muslim country.
And these are happy, thriving, and disciplined people, right? Aren't they?
Exactly. Yes, they are. Very disciplined. Heck, I trained with the Jordanian army. I trained with the Jordanian army, and I'll tell you one daggone thing. They try. They say they need training. They try to say that they need training, but I know they're freaking holding back. Because when I was training this one soldier on our M4s, they have our old A2s. His rear sight aperture was down, and he was nailing the target. He was nailing the target without the rear sight.
The thing about those older firearms, it's like you can, if you train a kid, they're gonna be able to maintain that weapon a lot better.
No. What I'm saying is, I don't know.
Well, they have more respect for the weapon.
What I'm talking about is we have a flip up aperture. Hear me out. We have a flip up aperture on the rear sight that flips down when we're using the CCO, and flips up when we switch to iron sights. This dude did not have a CCO on his weapon, and his rear sight aperture was down, and he was still nailing the target. The Jordanian Special Force came up, looked at me, winked, and flipped the sight aperture up.
He says sub Papatico. Yeah, but then just since we're kind of getting done with that for the blanket mistrust topic, I think it's essential to be able to have as many social programs as we have. Like, what exactly are all of these, like, what exactly is WIC in a sense that we're not really confident that like a woman without a provider in the house can take care of her kids by herself, and that's because we don't trust our infrastructure. We don't trust like the way that families communicate nowadays, and so we spend all of our money like so insufficiently just to get these programs up and running, when in reality it's like if they just taught a few lessons to kids, they'd be able to protect themselves, and eventually they'd have like a mindset where they could, or that they would be in an environment where people aren't worried about where their next meal is going to come from. But then again, how would these people who work in all these programs, how would they have a job? They would be out of a career path. Whereas like you take a much more poorer country, they're able to without any significant social programs like WIC or EBT, they're able to train up not only a society that's functioning, but of warriors or of people that can actually fight or have resiliency. Whereas like I don't really trust a person who's grew up in America, like who's older. I would trust a younger, I would trust a teenager from Jordan over a fully grown adult with upgraded technology and like
I would trust a 10-year-old from Jordan before I trust a fully grown adult from America.
It has gotten that bad. It's America's a victim of its own success, and it shows.
I went to Jordan, and and it was supposedly a hot zone. I never felt safer I felt the safest in my whole entire life.
I heard about something like that with I knew guys that went to Saudi Arabia, and they said something similar. I've been to where Qatar is. I've been there. I didn't
Qatar. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I've never felt safer than walking down the streets of Jordan. Than I literally, I'm like, wow. I didn't feel like my life was in danger.
Yeah. I guess it's all relative, but yeah, I definitely believe that. Well, maybe you also had culture shock too, so everything is very
No, I didn't have culture shock. I don't let my expectations of living in America affect where I travel. I let them build my expectations. I don't set expectation. I let them build on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of unavoidable, but I get what you're saying though. It's like your level, depending on your personality, your level of culture shock will change. Yeah, it's subjective. It's not like an objective thing, but yeah, for people, yeah, I mean, we have like all these communities that preach traveling outside the United States. Is a good as a good way of like getting a grasp. I've still yet to see anybody who really advocates for against racism and against patriarchal oppression. I've yet to see them like actually travel and get to know the environment a little bit outside of the United States a little bit better, because then they would figure out that their goals are pretty much useless, or their goals of trying to convince anybody in America is pretty much futile. D-Man said he trusts his 6-year-old more. That is sad to hand than an adult with no training.
Hey, if it's okay with you guys, I kind of want to hear from Billy on some of this stuff, because I think he's the one who's spoken the least. I love to hear him talk about it.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I can't really speak about guns or anything, or weaponry, traveling, or military topics, because...
What was the topic, though? Wasn't it about, sorry to interrupt, but wasn't the topic about, aren't we on the blanket mistrust part, or we diverge from that?
Well, I can kind of steer it back towards it.
Yes, please.
So, a blanket mistrust. People like to have a sense of security, and so if we do indeed have a instinctual kind of, or maybe not instinctual, but a propensity to be mistrusting, it says a lot more than just like, I can't trust you. This is a sign of hypersensitivity, of fear, of losing control, losing security, losing comfort. Things are changing, and it's quite it's quite a big red flag, really. If someone's got awareness and they realize that they're lacking trust, they should address this, because, and sadly, I don't think they do. What they do is they sort of double down and they look for reasons why they can't trust.
Right.
And they think that they're covering their back. They think this will protect them, but it brings about a whole bunch of other problems, because if you can't trust anything, i.e., you now have a failure to recognize what danger is, you can begin to see how that could be very problematic, because you're going to start jumping at your own shadow, or someone might be trying to help you out and you can't trust them.
I trust the... Hello?
Yeah.
I would say I would honestly say I would trust a cartel with itchy trigger fingers than I would trust a grown person with a gun in America.
Yeah, at least they're willing to actually fire a shot.
I mean, so my financial advisor once asked me, like, so who do you trust? And my answer was like, my daughter. And she was like, I knew you'd say that. And so why is it we would trust children more than supposedly responsible adults? Well, one of you was talking about there's an increase in mental illness, and that's kind of partly tied to it, because adults, as people get older into their adulthood, they become somewhat like contaminated in a way. They've had influences, they've had experiences, they're not as genuine compared to with a child. A child is a lot more innocent and much more matter of fact, much more honest, much more true. And so truth and trust kind of walk a parallel line a little bit. So you can kind of see why you might want to say, like, yeah, I can trust kids with weapons, or I can trust kids with responsibility, because because you can predict and know what you're going to get. Now, when you can't trust, it's also an indicator, like you therefore can't predict what's going to happen. Now, obviously we don't really want to be leaving the world in children's hands going forward. Well, I mean, yes, we do, kind of thing. They're the future. I mean, we don't want children running the world currently. We would like, in a sensibility sort of sense, we would like the adults that we currently have to be responsible. But we see this confliction between, like, how do we know that they are responsible? What indicators are being presented or displayed that can sort of like reassure us, to kind of convince us to be like, okay, all right, I might be hypersensitive, but I am going to allow myself to trust your judgment or your decision making or whatever the power may be, their whatever it is they're going to be doing. And it's getting harder and harder for people to be able to, like, we look at track records and we look at history and we look at patterns of behavior. We look at, like, words not lining up with their actions. We look at propaganda, and you know, it's kind of like, I'm not surprised that we're finding this blanket of mistrust. It is very confusing when the world is rapidly changing, so it's hard to ascertain any kind of stability. So if you can't,
I look for stability as that's why I came. That's what for me the topic is like. If you look for instability, then maybe you can address, like what you said, when it comes to an issue. If you look for the unstable points, maybe you can actually work on them, as opposed to looking for something that's stable to stand on, which is, I've just noticed when it comes to anything, something's always going to come in to tip the scales, and like that's screw something up.
That could help, yes, but unfortunately, if you've got someone who's a bit kind of like, they're leaning into that sort of paranoia, and they're kind of wanting reasons to not trust, because it's like an easier choice, because so it's harder and more difficult to trust something, because with that it implies a level of risk taking. It's like, I trust you with my life, for example, so I'm running a gamble here, and I need to be willing to accept the consequences. So what if you get someone who isn't really willing to accept consequences? They don't want to be accountable. They don't want to risk the gamble. You can see how they'll choose, right, it's easier just to basically not have to put the hard work and decipher what is a danger or not. It's just easier just to say no to everything, and I don't trust anyone. Fundamentally, what it ends up doing is saying that I can't even trust my own judgment. I'm so worried about my vulnerability that I'm going to huddle into a fetal position or climb into a turtle shell and just slowly start to suffocate.
Mm-hmm.
That's going forward with the problem of mistrust. It's not healthy. It might seem like it's because it's becoming like a survival instinct, like a desperation attempt.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, these people are beaten down by the environment, so they feel like they have to get healthy, they have to get right, they have to get mentally, they have to detach from toxicity.
You know what? I feel like Billy's judging me right now.
Hey, look.
I remember Billy.
He wasn't the one that got stuffed in the trunk of a car.
Okay, see, and that was different. Okay, that was way different.
Yeah.
You thought Billy was.
And for your information, in all technicality, that wasn't trust issues. That was just, I didn't want to date a woman.
Well, you could see like how. Wait, but okay.
You didn't try hard enough.
I'm going to use the trunk as an example, though. So hypothetically speaking, you could a possibility could arise where, like, say, Tico. Sorry, I want to pick on you here.
You bully.
Right?
Hashtag no bully. 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 Hashtag no bully.
That's your new name. You're now Billy the Bully.
But you can see how. Not you could see, but
you're fine. Go ahead. Go, Billy.
What if you develop a kind of like a paranoia of trunk. Like every time you saw a trunk, you got a flashback and it brought back memories, kind of thing. So to overcome these kind of flashbacks or PTSD in general, is to is to change the meaning of the trauma, so it doesn't have the same effect anymore. And in that way, you can begin to break that cycle of not being able to trust. You can so going forward, it would be like Otika could then look at a trunk of a car and remind himself of the meaning, like this isn't a situation I'm going to be pushed into there and kidnapped, but rather all cars have trunks and it's perfectly normal. So he's changed the definition. So he doesn't look at the trunk as a trap or a tool of his being kidnapped, but rather he looks at it with the authentic meaning that the trunk is part of a car and it's normal. So this would break that cycle of trauma, hopefully, anyway, and would reduce any kind of flashbacks. I mean, you probably would still get kind of like maybe like flashbacks or remember that time we were thrown into the back of the boot kind of thing. But you would start to like self-soothe and reassure yourself and begin to trust in your own safety, and ergo you'd be able to then trust in cars' trunks, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So that's how. Anyway, so taking that.
I was just basically saying that because I was just basically talking about I was just basically picking. I think Billy's trying to single me out. Well, I was saying that because I come from a third world country, obviously, and typically a lot of the times, a lot of the people aren't really to be trusted in third world countries. Especially when I was growing up, it was a lot worse. It was better than a lot of countries, but it was still a lot worse. Where you can end up like just missing the next day, basically on a whim.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
when you grow up in an environment like that, as such, on a regular basis, you got to worry about your safety. You got to worry about your well-being. You got to worry about if you.
That makes sense because obviously, like, if you're in a very like dangerous, like life, like you don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow, kind of thing, or next minute or whatever. You need rapid fire survival, like strategies or measures to ensure your survivability. So you become impulsive, kind of thing. So it's kind of it's like the opposite of shoot first, ask questions later. So the quick thing to definitely ensure your protection and safety will be right. Don't try to proceed with doubt, because to trust requires a bit of time. You need a bit of time and debilitate thinking mulling it over, like weighing up the evidence. This is time consuming, and if you're in a survival situation, that could get you killed.
Yeah.
Well, then what's the point that, well, like, is it that people who aren't living in a third world country are they just way overshooting the level of danger or overestimating the level of danger that they're in, or are they're not really used to whatever?
They're probably a lot of them typically will underestimate the level of danger that they're actually in. In first world countries, like you'll hear people say, "Well, this is Orange County. That would never happen in Orange County." Or this is Mount Lebanon. It's the greatest town in the world. It's the richest people. That'll never happen in Mount Lebanon. Stuff like that. And this is typically what people do in first world countries. Whereas people in third world countries, we know the dangers, we've seen the dangers, and we don't want no parts of those dangers.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So we typically proceed with caution. Or we don't really trust anybody that easily, so we won't end up dead or wrong. If you know what I mean.
I would venture to say, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but as a on the fly kind of speculation, the kind of survivable the dangers you'd get in a third world country after some time, because it's got a bit of a history of being like a dangerous sort of environment. So although there might be, you have to proceed with caution and err on the side of safety, there's a sort of like a set procedure, like if you hear gunshots, like duck your head kind of thing, or if things are going boom, like take cover or whatever, right? So there's like a protocol that's been established to go to coexist with these dangers. However, in first world countries, because people are more privileged, and danger is kind of like a new phenomena in comparison. People in more first world countries don't know how to respond appropriately to said danger. So I would guess you would see more kind of like hysterical type behavior in first world countries.
Yeah, that's actually perfect leading into the next topic, and it's good for the last topic too. Like the hysterics that you see. The hysterics is basically our entertainment, or it's basically the core aspect of like all content is this hysteric attitude where it's like, and they try to fully encompass all the problems that are happening that a person can be aware of, like living in a privileged society where they hardly see any sort of real hardship, and then they try to provide you like an alternative way of living that'll perfectly tie all that stuff up, like donating a few extra cents at this place to help these causes, and choosing like natural products as a way of thinking that they're healthier for you and the environment, like kind of like a win-win or something like that. And so it's just like when it comes to water, because I deal with water a lot for my job. It's just like everybody has this thing where they're just like, oh, I like to drink alkaline waters, or I like to drink like this kind of water, or I leave my water out by the moon so that I can get moon energy.
Moon energy.
And I use it to watch my crystals and stuff with moon energy.
Oh no!
And it's a result. I think it's a direct result of what Billy was talking about, like this like have no idea what's actually hurting you, so you create this demon of water toxicity as a way to like judge other people that just drink regular water, and therefore have
the problem with using that term is there's actually a term called water toxicity. That's if you drink too much water in a short span of time, you can actually die from that, ironically.
Yeah.
If you don't get medical help.
Yeah, they hone in on like specific buzzwords like fluoride and other things that are just used to clean the water, like chlorine, things that are used to clean the water.
The problem with cleaning stuff and cleaning water is fluoride. Don't get me wrong, it's good for cleaning, but after a certain amount of time, it's bad for the body. Too much, like I always say, too much of anything is bad for the body, and it has negative effects on the human body after a certain amount of time when it comes to overuse or excessive use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So fluoride is actually a bad. Both fluoride and chlorine are both bad ideas to actually use as far as cleaning. You
shouldn't be drinking that shit either.
You shouldn't.
Tap water.
No, you shouldn't.
It's not.
I know in well water you don't drink that stuff. I know in Costa Rica we definitely don't drink that stuff. In Mexico we definitely don't drink that stuff either. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I mean, to me, dude, it's better that it's like drinking non-chlorinated, non-fluoridated water for long periods of time. It's like good luck with stomach parasites and a bunch of stuff, because it's like that's if you don't clean the water.
Well, here's anything about those stomach parasites. It's basically like, think of it like this. Remember when the English or the Spanish came along and they went to the Incan and the Mayan civilizations?
Mm-hmm.
They brought something with them. What did they bring with them?
Disease, germs.
My point exactly. The sad part about that is the Incan and the Mayan people actually had their own set of diseases. That set of disease was actually new to them. Case in point, your parasite that you speak of, that's old to people who's used to drinking it. Like, case in point, back in the day, there was a German milk. Before they did the whole entire pasteurization, there was a German milk that people used to drink, and people were okay with drinking, sadly. The sad part about that, after the pasteurization, that changed, basically. But typically, that milk basically was good for you, basically. I mean, it was good for some people. It was bad for some other people, but typically, en masse, it was good for people to have in their system. So your Your body can basically learn it, feel it, fight it, learn it, and be able to defeat it, and keep it around for all intents and purposes. Is what I mean by that. But what a lot of people miss about that is now people are lactose intolerant. The sad part about lactose intolerant milk, it's basically non-pasteurized milk.
Right.
So everybody's getting that germ back again, basically, who's non-drinking. But the neat thing about non-pasteurized milk in America is it's illegal.
Strange.
In a lot of the states, maybe like 49 to 50 states, it's a legal one.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But you can sell it in the store and make money off of it.
But it's illegal to just like own and not like be if you're not like a
it's illegal to drink. It's illegal to go out there. Like case in point, if I had a cow right now, it'd be illegal for me to go outside, give me some milk, and just drink it straight out of the cow.
Like
kind of like the same reason it's illegal to collect rainwater.
Yeah. A lot of things are illegal, like just in general, like the way that people work and stuff. It like feeds into that. There's no who's gonna enforce that. They're too busy checking the doggy puppy guarding the parking meters to be worried about who's collecting like rainwater.
No. One more thing before y'all forget. Chico did come from a third world country, but it got standards.
Yeah. Well, and the sad part about that is when it comes to those germs like we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
True story. But the sad part about drinking that same water that you speak of is I have an immunity and a tolerance for that water, whereas you don't. So if you go over there and drink the water, you're going to be ass out, cash out. If I drink the water, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
An ass, yeah. It's like if you eat like just a regular street cart food.
Like how they say if you go to Mexico, don't drink any water from Mexico.
Yeah.
People in Mexico are past out with drinking the water, but you wouldn't be fine with drinking the water.
Right. That's why I bring my Cambrias and my camelbacks. You got to bring those camelbacks. Fill with the American water, because you're right. It screws with you. But I'm more like there's just a phenomenon of people that are trying to avoid, or they'll do anything to be able to be like considered unhealthy, because it's all for show. You can tell it's all for show. Hello?
Hey, Tika, could you bring me back some water from Tijuana? Oh, he roboted out.
Yeah, he skipped out. He wasn't hearing anybody. I can hear everybody. I can hear everybody fine.
Yeah,
I've got good service, loud and clear.
Yeah,
I've got good signal. Hey, Billy, you got good signal?
I guess so.
Yeah. Tika's the odd man out.
But mainly with that, it's just like we kind of get into these. We kind of like push ourselves to do these like virtuous ways of living. Like for what? I really ask, what is the reason? Like, maybe it's just that I like and they always it's like the same law of attraction bullshit. If you don't understand why it is that they charge their crystals moon energy and only eat like pine nuts and fruit and stuff, then it's because you have a problem. It's just like, I don't know, it's just icing on top of the cake when it comes to all of this, like who to trust, because there's totally decent people who I believe to be good people that are they just believe in this they believe in these like
what you call alkaline or lead-line or some crap like that. I don't know.
Well, the neat thing about a lot of this stuff that we speak of, and I was about to before I got kicked out of the stream somehow, some way, but I was saying about the whole entire selling of stuff like that, or stuff in general, or people being allergic or being unhealthy and can't drink this, can't drink that. The neat thing about it, they found that only 1% of those people are actually allergic to what they claim they're allergic to or can't eat, basically. So, like all the people that claim that they're all the people that are like that have this gluten-free allergy, only 1% of them have a gluten-free allergy. All these people who have a what is the other one that's popular now, that's big and popping? Like basically all that stuff. Like only 1% of those people are actually allergic or can't digest that stuff. Ironically, sadly.
Oh boy, they took advantage of that, didn't they? That's
they took advantage of that real quick.
Everything's gluten free, and you just magically pay more for it.
Yeah, paid a lot more for it.
It's marked up,
and that's the best part. But the funny thing about that whole entire thing and the whole entire setup, it's always marked up. But the funny thing about that whole entire thing, and the thing that takes the icing on the cake when it comes to that, is everybody, all the people who have used hand over hand washing most of their lives have a very low tolerance and are more likely to get sick.
Right. I mean, shit.
So they're more likely to get sick by any ailments or a lot more bugs and shit like that, basically. But it's like, but then you got the people who are like hand washing, they're perfectly fine, their immune system's intact. But the people who use hand sanitizer, because we turned into a sanitizing society.
You're talking
about more susceptible to getting sick.
Those kids that basically grew up with a parent that would have a cow, literally have a cow, if their kid didn't hand sanitize after every place that they. Well,
I'm talking about the people who. I'm talking about the people who overly use it.
Oh, bathe in it.
I consider
not the people like the parents who break it out all the time instead of washing your hands. They break out the hand sanitizer instead of going to a sink and pull out the soap and old-fashioned soap and water. They basically break out hand sanitizer and use it all over the damn place.
Basically,
for anything and everything. The sad part about that is what the thing with hand sanitizer that people fail to realize is you're washing away the good bacteria that you actually need on your body and your hands when you use that type of stuff. So now you're leaving your body vulnerable to bad stuff to actually happen to you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, your skin is not like a dish or like it's not like you wash it's not like it's like you use Dawn soap to wash your hands. So you can, but it's just like there's a certain purpose for having regular soap and use alcohol to kill all the bacteria.
On top of that, correct me if I'm wrong, Tico, but you actually, like, after you use the hand sanitizer multiple times, you're actually putting layers of residue on your hands.
Well, it's not even the layers. It's more or less the fact that you're taking away your good flora, your good bacteria, and all that stuff that you need on your body so you can survive as a human being. The stuff that came with your body naturally. You're taking away all that stuff. It'd be like, think of it like this. You have a very bad staph infection, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say you need like vancomycin trough. We'll use that as an example, or something else, or staphymethyl something. You basically use that. You basically deplete your body of all that stuff, all that flora, all that stuff, all that bacteria, all those viruses. You deplete your body of that stuff. What ends up happening when you deplete your body with that stuff? You end up with something known as you would end up something known as C. diff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the very same concept that you're doing to your skin when you overly use hand sanitizer.
That's why people are people talk about
sick more often, or getting sick all over the damn place, or think they're allergic to things that they're not allergic to. Yeah.
They go to the hospital and they get they like subscribe to this certain company that helps them, and then they get really sick and they blame it on the company that's claiming to help them, but really it's because they're like killing all their bad flora. They're eating all these weird foods that are supposed to be like natural, which doesn't necessarily mean they're more healthy. So it's just like they're eating all these weird foods and they're killing. They're like hand sanitizing. They're not like actually taking care of their cleanliness. They're kind of throwing cleanliness into a easily defined box and health into like an easy to reach goal. And then they're surprised when they get sick, like constantly. Or I just saw that story. Poor Justin Bieber. he got like this virus and stuff in his ear, and I don't know. It's like immediately my mind is like, oh, it's because he got the needle, he got the but it might be because I don't know. I'm not trying to call out Justin Bieber for the clout, but maybe he uses too much hand sanitizer. That dude just needs to
chill,
clean his hands with regular soap and water. Yeah. But I mean, I just use that.
Well, no, it's not even just that though, because he travels a lot. Well, here's the thing that you're missing, Yam. He travels a lot, so he's going to get into shit that he has no business getting into health-wise. Sadly, because he goes on tour, he goes to a different country, he does various things. He may not take all the vaccines, he may not take all the shots that he needs, basically. So he ends up in another country, and he ends up getting sick from something in that country because his body's not used to that because he lives in a first world country. He goes to a third world country. Now he ends up with something like monkeypox or Zika virus or something that you're not used to having when you live in a first world country, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like vice versa what we're talking about with the Spanish when he went to the went to go visit the Incans and the Mayan civilization. They basically brought smallpox with them, and it wiped out a whole entire civilization. The same thing goes if you're from a first world country, you go to a third world country. You typically, it's vice versa too. You're going to catch some stuff that you have no business catching that you didn't know existed, and it's probably going to ravage your body like ridiculously.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
That's typically how
we're so
successful
we're so successful just in terms of like, Justin Bieber's a good example of the West in general. Like we're so successful, we can like tour the world with just with these songs or with these. With gaming or something like that, and never really think about the fact that we can literally just circumnavigate the world all the time. Like there's tons of like a lot of movies now are based on that. The weird like technology is kind of like horror movies now about around technology because it's like we literally could kill ourselves just from our sheer desire to just like travel around. Who knows what kind of super virus we could end up creating in an airport bathroom somewhere just by sheer traffic of the airways and traffic of, just people across the globe. Everyone's thinking like these things that are developed in a lab are very dangerous. They can be engineered to be dangerous, but also our own just lack of self-awareness could be dangerous to us in the long run, just from us traveling the globe. And who knows what we could catch. Like I said, this guy Justin Bieber, he got like an infection to where now it's like it damaged nerves, which it seems outlandish, but it's so that's like, to me, that's like totally, it's totally possible for anybody who is going to a foreign environment. Like I said, or like what Tico was talking about earlier, you just literally, like if you live on if you live on the border, if you just drive across the border and drink the water, you could end up sick. You could end up with like scar tissue in your stomach just from like the sheer, like the way that your body reacts. You could be like screwed up for life because you decided to go have fun somewhere. You look at even within our own borders, like Coachella, or Burning Man. Like these are places where diseases are run rampant. I don't know if this is like fear mongering or something. It kind of sounds like fear mongering, but yeah, we'll go with it. But yeah, no, it's just like there's way more. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's way more things to actually be worried about than 5G or like your water, or when preppers talk about different things that they got to be that are going to happen when society collapses and stuff. It's like, yeah, you could prepare for a what if, but if you think about it immediately, your immediate future is much more doomsday scenario or like a possible scenario, I guess, is the conclusion from that. I kind of read.
Interject with, so what is the reasoning behind it? Why is there more focus on imaginative dangers compared to or more closer to home, established, more factual dangers, and there lies it's not the proposed danger that's the problem. This is more of an issue of mental, like for the individual, for them to have something they can feel as though they can have control over.
And it's working like a charm.
So, like for example, let's say we all know it's not a good idea to stick your tongue in the mains electric outlet. Obviously, you'll get electrocuted. So that's not something they could particularly dictate or control. Whereas if they tell you that, or if they believe that they can become ill from concrete mites, I don't know, little bacteria in concrete or something like that, they just make something up. Then they're basically constructing their own world. They're world builders. So by creating,
it's like when you see Karen get flipping out at the gym because some guy hit on her, like she's building a world. It may not be the same as like a LARPer or like a conservative guy who thinks that they can take over Congress or something by walking into a public building. But it's like it's more along the lines of she needs some love in her life, and rather than go out and find it, she's trying to obtain it through subversion by getting other men to feel like they need to care, like a gym full of men have to protect her from one creepy guy.
One of the sort of criteria for this world building is that it has to be fantastical. It can't be something that is rationed out or can be scientifically proven, because then it kind of destroys that world building.
Oh yeah, there's got to be. I see what you're saying.
This is why it has to be absurd,
untouchable. It's like creation, like flat Earth creationists. They're like,
exactly.
Because science says that something is real doesn't mean that it is, because you also have the creator of that science. It's like, mysticism, or like there's now quantum mysticism, where they try to blame scientists using magic to explain things as opposed, and then they do that. So they can do the exact same thing. They just want to be able to do whatever they want. They don't actually want to achieve a rational reasoning for existence.
Whatever it is they're kind of preaching or harping with their rhetoric, that's a front. That's a ploy to mask what's really going on, which is these people are trying to create a world builders. And by being a world builder, that puts them in God position. That means they got control. They get to say what goes, and they're in the center of it. So this ultimately gives them a sense of power, which gives them a sense of sort of security and makes them feel better.
Which would only be realized if you can only really achieve security, like in the way that we are describing it, if you never actually experienced any adversity.
You'll also
a person who can go from manic, neurotic, borderline to throwing a burger in the trash, all of a sudden feeling melancholy or like serene, blissful at the just by one single action. That's mental illness. That's not being a mental point of origin. It's not being some sort of archon of wisdom or something. That's mental illness, and your trigger, like you get your trigger for that mental illness is it's almost like a meth addict doing like metal work or like little doing tinkering or something. It's just a little tick that they
to add what you're saying there, a couple of things. One would be like, you'll notice that the con artists amongst them are the ones who will be trying to shame and guilt you into joining, come into my world and be like me, sign up to Flat Earth kind of thing. So this is how Flat Earth spreads, and or things like this conspiracy idea, or this new age medicine or whatever. It's the same kind of mechanism at play. So
Gibberty, yeah, basically, aka gibberty pokety.
Yeah, and they often use the shame to make you to sign off. That takes you away from grounded reality, and you're entering into their world, which gives it more validation. You make the lie more believable if you believe in it as well. And a way to sort of spot this happening, and I'll use religion as an example, is you'll get some people who are religious or spiritual, and they won't really care about you joining them in their belief. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, I believe in the Bible, or I believe in spirits, I believe in the afterlife or reincarnation," and they'll leave it at that. It's up to you if you want to kind of be interested and research more about it. Now, you take that kind of person. That would be someone who has an interest and is upfront pretty much and is benign. But if you have someone who is religious or spiritual and they're trying to guilt trip you, oh, you should be spiritual as well because then you'll be enlightened like me, and then you could be special and ordained with powers, and we can rise above all these mere mortals, or you could be in God's grace, and I've seen God, I've touched God's hand, and if you listen, and I'll be your mentor and I'll guide you, and you can see how it's much more
join us like that.
Kind of, yeah. So there's a much more sinister aspect behind it, and there's you can understand why they're trying to recruit you, because they need you to be part of that world building with them. But you're not building a world together to coexist. No, you're building the world for them to be at the center of it and reign over you. And the thing is, these manipulative, toxic, abusive type people at some point will need to do that. They won't be able to just say like, "Hey, I'm religious, and yeah, every Sunday I go to church," and leave it at that. No, they will need to at some point say like, "You should come to church too. Come with me to church on Sunday. Hey, I'll introduce you to everyone."
We have chocolate chip cookies.
Something.
Yeah, we have chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, like they'll fluff you. They'll love bomb you or whatever. Future fake and all this.
Yeah,
sort of
sounds
if you don't come to church on Sunday, there must be something wrong with you. Are you a Satanist?
Sounds very familiar, Yam, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and then it's a very it's a conscription. So it's almost reflective of the Crusades, which historically are mismanaged, and that's why there was a religious push to make practice more of like a domestic thing, because you realize when you try to attack people based on religion, which is already very there's already a built-in things, like there's unity built into religion, but there's also division built in religion too. It's like you can't really launch a successful attack based on like a religion that's going to last very long, because you look at each religion and 100 years later they always fracture into different sects. So it's like, how are you going to create it's kind of silly too, because at the same time it's one of the only things that can really unite people and it's not even that good at uniting people, that as far as we know, as far as we can see. It's like the monotheistic religions are been warring for almost cut to 2,000 years, or damn near 2,000 years,
millennials, just a long freaking time.
Yeah,
they have been warring,
and over territory nonetheless. So it's like, if you think about that in terms of like our mind, there's tons of people that are trying to find real estate inside of your brain. And a lot of those people, like what Billy's saying, will use religion, or they'll use culture, they'll use like the shared identity of the manosphere to sort of get you to like acquiesce. And then the moment that you start straying away from the talking points, then it's time to go.
And it should go without saying that obviously they're going to try and present themselves as they're trying to help you. I'm trying to help you by getting you to come to church with me on Sunday. You know, I'm not the enemy. I'm your friend. I'm trying to heal you. It's
I would
like,
rather not, like that seems completely asinine to just to come out like that. Just be honest, like, hey, you know, this is what we do. It's a way that we all learn and hold each other accountable, and it has nothing to do with religion. It's nothing to do with spirituality. This is just what a community does. Like that would be much more under. That would be like, okay, reason, you know, not and instead of being like, you're going to hell, you know, it's just like that. No.
Look, I've been told I was going to hell in 3 religions, so don't mean nothing to me. It's just another scare tactic.
and quite often, like whilst they're trying to shame you, like let's say, you know, you're a non-religious, you're a non-believer in whatever kind of cause, then obviously you must be an effing idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They call it that too.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, or a dickhead or something like, you know, you're just yeah. And again, it's dehumanizing people based on the concept of what they believe, which is the only thing that's human about any of us. You know, it's like our actions. People try to fetishize certain behaviors, like being health conscious, being environmentally conscious, being gender conscious, and it's like really all of that stuff is just genetic. You know, it's just like you're either healthy or you're not. You either know which gender you are or you don't. And then it's just like their gender does exist. It's a real thing, and it's split into 2 parts in the human species, and well, some people are born and they don't know which gender they are, or they have that, you know, 1.1% or 1% of people that have a trouble identifying. And so but then like you have religious groups that'll try to be like, oh, you're just ignorant, you don't know the difference. It's like, really, you think that people are really that stupid, like really that like dumb that they just don't understand the concepts of gender? It's like
You'll often hear a backhanded sort of, not a compliment, but like a backhanded sort of expression where it's like, look, hey, you don't have to believe what I believe. That's okay. You be you, boo. You don't have to believe, but it just, you know, so you know that you're a complete fool and only a moron or a retard. You must be a retard because you don't know what I know. You know, it's like, but it's okay. I'm not trying to force you to believe what I believe. And it's like, yes, you are.
Yeah. But just be aware that I think that you're a retard. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that like apologist, like kind of like air of apologists that you see. They're just like, oh, hoity toity, you know. They're like, oh, it's okay, you were taught, like when it comes to flat earth, it's like, it's okay, you just believe what NASA tells you. But you know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
okay, no, that's what, you know. And they see people do that with things that actually make logical sense, and they think that they can pull that same stuff with magic. But it's not. You can't elevate yourself above people when your baseline like way of understanding the world is through magic. You know, because all it takes is somebody coming and popping that magical bubble, and then now you feel slighted, and now you want to say that person's satanic. Now you want to call that person out their name. You know, say that they're bad people. When it's just literally just a disagreement, like an intellectual disagreement, or you know, there's just that felt conflict because there's just tension. It's almost like sexual tension. Almost. It's like, what is going on? Like Tico deals with that too. It's like the amount that people are just willing to go. They never pick an honest reason why they dislike you. Like that's what I was getting at with at the beginning of this stream. I was like, you can say what you want as long as they don't think that you're dating. If they think that you're dating somebody, then you're compromised and you're a bad person. Now, you believe what you want to believe about, dating, and I thought Tico was gonna be here because we're gonna the topic is delusional dating, which we can move to now. It's just like if you want to date, and so, or it's like if you have beliefs about dating where you don't trust, that's your issue to work out with yourself, however you want to go about it. But when it comes to like the manosphere, they don't. You can say pretty much anything about women, about other men, as long as they can track your D. As long as D track, as long as you turn the location on when
On your
you
Johnson.
on
They're
your
gonna
John.
chip your D.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. The RFID the D, and
Right.
you're basically like automatically co-sign the master, because they talk about, they're like men, you men, and it doesn't allow for individuality. It doesn't allow for you to say that Trump is it was like dumb in certain regards. Oh, you can't say that. It's like, you'll get crucified by the manosphere if you do that.
But the problem is Trump is married.
Yeah, so then it's like, where do they draw the line? It's like,
Exactly.
he's married to Russians, two Russians and an American woman.
So tell me, what help you make that make sense to me.
It's a good point, Lynn.
It's like just about every politician is married.
Right. And so, you have all of these compromised beliefs and stuff, and then it all boils down to, okay, so how are we going to solve the issues of the future, right?
We're not. The problem is we're not going to solve it.
Yeah, well, people are worried more about themselves. You can tell that nowadays with mental health awareness. It's like people think that it's more important to like take a day off work and kind of see how they're feeling, and instead of because they think that it's like it's over, bro. Like they just think that they just have such a dark outlook that they feel like the most important thing is assessing how they feel, when it's just like a majority of men on earth are just selfless people that don't take into account how they feel at all, and they just provide for society. That's what they do. That was their function. That's their purpose. And they die. They put their lives on the line. They stand on top of gaps while kids walk across, and they just take care of every nook and cranny of society from the top to the bottom. And nobody ever bats an eye, and nobody ever cares. But then with like sort of this like people being overly privileged and unaware of what's really happening around them, they feel like, oh, this is like a problem. And that's why they're all very hungry to hear from like people like Billy, because they want to understand what's going on in their own head. It doesn't matter, screw what's happening outside, screw what's happening in the real world, like what actually physically needs to get done. It's all about my mind and how I feel inside, and addressing,
I believe that's it.
Other people are causing me to, dislike my life choices, and I'm getting close to hitting AFK mode on my life server, on the server of life. And it's just really, I mean, it's just really sad. And then like their attitude towards dating, it gets even worse, because they're like they choose these girls that are
that weren't good in the first place.
They choose based on looks, or they work on their looks to get a girl, and then 10 years later they're bald and they have silver sides of the beard, and they're cupped down, they're buying other people's semen. And it's just like it freaking it tsunamis into chaos. Like either they think that they have to look a certain way to get a woman, or a woman has to look or perform certain duties in order to pass. And they don't think about like, maybe this woman has to enjoy my company or have good feel. We have to be on the same emotional level, and we have to relate to things. Like you see a lot of like like age gap, and it's like when you guys are just sitting on the couch, like how do you just have jokes that are relatable to each other when there's like such a huge age gap? You know, it's like what is that? If you guys if somebody says Batman and you guys think of two completely different people, how do you sit on the couch and just like just stare at each other? Because it's like they'd have nothing in common, but they both believe they should be together because of what society says, because like she's hot and he's rich or something like that.
The thing is about that. First things foremost, they pick the people that first off, they don't pick people based on the personality, of course. They pick them based on looks. Now,
Yeah.
personality is one thing; looks are just a bonus, right? The older you get, they don't pick like I said, but women are just as bad at this too. If you can't sit on the couch, if you can't sit on the couch with the television off, with the radio off, with no music, no nothing, just in the silence and just enjoy each other's company, you got a problem. You know, you've got a huge problem if you can't just sit there without bumping uglies. Just sit there without bumping uglies and just enjoy the silence. You know,
like Wynn's talking about me. I feel sometimes.
It's
like that's I often think about that when women come when women come act submissive. It's like, are they looking for a relationship or are they just looking for sex?
Let me break this to you. You can learn a lot just by sitting there in silence. You know, especially the duration. You're gonna learn a lot about each other just by sitting in silence. Just by, if you're on the couch, you're just basically both relaxing. You know, it's you learn a lot if she can sit there and relax with you and just be comfortable, because everything else around, the bills are paid, the house is paid off, all the stuff is done around the house, and you're just basically sitting there and enjoying it, just enjoying the silence. You just enjoy it, you know. And if she can't do that without trying to get in your pants, you know, until you both are ready, until you both feel like it, then okay, great. You might not have found somebody, unless you basically want just looking to just screw all the daggone time.
Yeah, this might be a topic for next time, because I see a good topic here, but
it's like
on long enough.
For me, these dating standards are just these modern dating standards are just delusional to me. You know, they're delusional. It's like,
it's like a guy's nowadays. A guy's just looking for a woman to feed him all the right information and get him to sign off. Like that's all that it is. Is all it boils down to. I've seen good men go down because they got fed a wrong bill of goods and they believed a woman, and in regards to what's going on around him.
Heck,
like a guy doesn't feel like he just can just sit around and relax, because it's like he's constantly being put under pressure to perform. And so if a woman can get in there and sort of like be a cheerleader for him, that's almost better to that man than to have a woman that actually just is on that same wavelength. Like a lot of guys are looking for a woman to motivate them to change, to boss up or to level up or to increase something about themselves, when they should be trying to do that without
themselves, without that type of motivation, without having to having to get pushed by your girl. You know, you should be
or like
thinking that.
they're typically not very angry, but they try to bring a woman in to sort of like stir the pot a little bit. It's like, oh, you need to start. You
That's
can't let
stupid.
that person tell you what to do, and like
That is
what I noticed is like the job becomes a main part of the relationship. Each person's job becomes part of like what they talk about on a daily. And don't get me wrong, that could be very helpful. But it's like that's more of a thing that a friend does than
right.
a romantic partner. Because it's like, how is this romance? My job is not romantic, unless I'm like a concierge. I don't know. I don't know what kind of job you could have that would be.
Yeah, I'm not a. Last time I checked, I'm not a concierge.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, oh, why don't you get some chocolate covered strawberries? Yeah, no.
No.
Right?
Well, why you tell me I got to make a mess of my daggone house? I worked so hard to get this house. I'm not ruining the daggone carpet or the mattress.
Another thing too is like just because a guy has all these like inclinations and preferences does not mean that they are have a condition or they have like a hatred or something, a frustration. I see that nowadays
my preference is
being a problem that women can't seem to understand. It's like just because we have preferences that means that we're off limits or we're somehow undateable because we actually have things that piss us, that like bug us. It really
my
like
preference.
they want a guy that doesn't have any experience dealing with women so that they're not like constantly saying, oh no, you're not about to do that today. No, if you're gonna do that today, then this relationship's over.
Man, they don't want accountability. They don't they don't want accountability. They don't want to be held accountable for the actions that they know full well it is wrong to do, but they want to do it anyway. You know, they want somebody that will let them practically get away with murder.
Well, that's just the thing. It's like, is it possible? Like men doing their own thing. How long? It just seems like it's gonna last pretty long. I saw a movie trailer for this. It's a movie where all the guys die from a virus, and then the women have to like just sit around and like with the last couple guys and just like farm their sperm in order to propagate the race. And it's like a sci-fi movie, but I was like, damn, that's like what feminists want. They don't really care about guys acting better or treating them different or anything. They just want to be able to control when and where the baby making is happening.
Exactly.
And I'm like, that's fine if you're a queen in like the 9th century maybe, but it's like if you're not, then just I don't know,
just live
something. Yeah, exactly. Just get a significant other. But I digress. That's not the
yeah, like
you're gonna say.
The thing is like it's the whole controlling of when the baby. First thing, they want to control not only do they want to control when they want to control how it happens. You know, well, you did forget that. They want to control how it happens. You know, they basically say, you got to constantly ask because that ruins the freaking mood. That you're basically you got to ask every 15, 5, 10 minutes.
Well,
no,
but see, you're missing the point. Like, if you got to ask, you're already in a bad relationship at that point. Like, if you're where, and why are you asking? That's the big.
Right.
If you realize that it's been weeks and you haven't had sex, first off, there's problems. But then the second off, it's like, you're the only person in that relationship if that's the case. If you have to submit an application to do some sex later,
if you got to submit an application to
It's
date,
like, all right, this is getting bad. This has been bad for a while. I've been taken advantage of for a long time.
exactly, it's time to leave. You know, just flat out, just like if basically what it is, you know.
Well, not
If you
only
gotta,
not only that, when you also take into consideration, it's like you're sticking around. Why are you sticking around?
exactly.
So it's just like, why are you so like attracted to this? That doesn't strike me as like a genuine attraction where you're hanging around a person to see if they'll put out. You know, it shouldn't be a factor. If you just genuinely like somebody, you're attracted to them, you're just gonna go out of your way to just spend time with them, and not just to get the peace leave, but to actually just because you genuinely like the person, you just want to know how they're doing.
Right. You just
and
basically just.
But when a guy complains about, oh, I'm not getting sex, it's like, okay, that's where my expertise goes out, because I'm just in the business of finding people that are cool to spend time with, but most people are out there trying to be like, I need to find somebody who give me sex this, that, and that time of the week.
Look, my dad always told me. My dad told me this: you got a right hand, you got a left hand. Use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what he was trying to harp on was like your ability to manage yourself and not need to be managed by somebody else. Managed,
Exactly. Manage myself.
Womanaged. That should be a real word. Womanage or womanager. Can I speak to your womanager?
Oh, hit green button. If you hit the green button, you can get the purchase can be completed. No problem. The thing is like, all right. It's basically.
We're getting to 2 hours, and we probably need to end this.
Yeah, we probably should end this conversation. It's before I
going anywhere. If we will have to bring it up later.
Oh, thank you.
The delusion, the dating stuff really just goes on and on. And there's no clarity, to the situation.
Right.
But Billy, why'd you pick Yoshi as your person today? Was there any very specific reason?
Will do. I got the truck running.
Good to edit.
Woo! Yeah, no.
I like the color. I've always liked Yoshi's like color scheme and everything.
Hey, get this.
Yoshi is a boss.
Guess what? Guess what I'm carrying?
I don't know.
Water.
Oh my God! It's poison.
Yeah, water. Clear, cool water. Why? Because I don't need to detox, but I still need to stay hydrated.
Well, I was listening to this guy who debunks flat earthers. He was like, if you have 2 kidneys and a liver, that's like the most your body. That's the most that your body can actually detox. Like nothing is gonna speed that process up.
Right.
Everybody who talks about detox, I'm going on things and stuff. It's like it gave me a whole nother reason to judge.
I'm thirsty. Yeah, I'm thirsty. I need water. I don't care. Is it wet? Yes. Is it made of H2O? Yes. It's water. Good.
Yeah, we should talk about that. I think we should talk about that next time. Like, I choose these like alternative ways of health. It's like don't they expect that because it's a minority that they're a minority that they're going to be treated harshly, especially by the internet.
That's strange. It's a strange concept, don't you think?
Yeah, they're always like complaining like nobody's talking about this, and it's like
talking about what?
Talking about toxins and stuff in the like the way that people in 5G and the way that people are living. Like it's like the truther community basically is what I'm talking about. They don't understand why people aren't talking about it, and it's like when you ask a person on the street, they pretty much know everything that a truther that is a content creator knows and understands, or they can at least like they can see that perspective, but they don't talk about it because when you talk about it, you put yourself out there to be criticized, and I feel like people are stupid, but they're not that stupid to put themselves out, especially with all this stuff that isn't scientifically proven.
Well, here's the thing about putting yourself out there. It's kind of like the medical false information thing that YouTube always strikes people with. You might not want to do that too often. You might want to do it in a safe environment or do it in a safe manner.
That's why I always ask. I try to ask somebody who's actually an expert in that field. Like before.
Well, it's not even just that though, because just because they're an expert in that field, that doesn't mean that they won't be struck down. Or don't have videos taken down for false information or false claims and anything. Like case in point, True Charm. He has had many videos taken down talking about many different topics and many different subjects of this manner. In similar manners.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying?
He knows too. Yeah. So I get, and I totally understand. I'm more or less like meant somebody who has experience talking about the stuff on YouTube to you can see that they've not gotten struck down or they're not afraid.
Everybody does because it's falls under conspiracy theories. So typically, a lot of the people get struck down. They might get one video, two videos struck down. After a while, eventually starts adding up, and they start getting more videos struck down. Mm-hmm. After a while, you end up being deplatformed, and you have to make a whole nother account again.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's just. Yeah, it's. I heard 13 of the month. He said when they force you to talk about, you can't talk about anything that's real. All you can do is talk about stuff that's fake. And they don't they don't like you pointing out things that are fake. They don't like you pointing out things that are real either.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to 1984.
Mm-hmm. And the time really flies on these. We were gonna go. I was wondering if you're gonna come back for delusional dating. If you had any quick licks you wanted to get off about that. We're kind of violent. We're kind of like a rapid flow right now. We're talking about it.
So you're about to talk about it now. You already talked about it.
We were talking about it, and I was like thinking like, it's getting long, and also I wonder if Tico was going to be back for it because that you added it to the topic. So
yeah, the problem with delusional dating is a lot of people start trying to do things that they can't do or kick out of their coverage, which they can't do, both men and women. The problem with that arises when you think you deserve something that you really don't deserve, or you think you're above a certain group of people because you think you deserve a certain thing because society has told you deserve a certain thing. Or in some cases, other men have told you that you could do better and you deserve a lot of things. Sadly enough, that's the reason why a lot of men don't get to pass on their genetics, because they basically taken on tasks and roles in this world where
excuse me. Are you still there, Tico? I think he roboted out again. Or is that me?
I was curious. He was going on about.
Well, the sad part about that is when it comes down to it, a lot of people aren't going to be able to pass on their DNA, and that sucks, and it's great, and it sucks. But the sad part about that is a lot of the people who couldn't pass on their DNA end up becoming stepfathers and shit like that. Okay, it sucks, but you're doing somebody else's job that they technically should have been doing themselves. Unfortunately, the person made a dumb decision, series of bad decisions. At the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter if you think you deserve something or not. It doesn't matter if you think you're, I don't want to date a single mom and this, that, and the other. They're saying, okay, that's perfectly fine. But the sad part about that, when a dating market comes back with the verdict, you ain't got no option and your choices suck. The same thing goes for women. When the dating market comes back with your verdict, you end up in a bad relationship or multiple bad relationships or a series of bad relationships, you have nobody to blame but yourself at the end of the day. When it comes down to it, the sucky part about it is everybody believes that they deserve something that they really don't deserve, or people think they deserve a person because they had a one time or for one night, basically. So they think they deserve this one person. Sadly, it was only for sex, and that person was desperate, and it sucks being you. That doesn't mean you can get that person all the time if it was only for sex. That goes for men and or women. Because I know men that got lucky with the most hottest woman in the world, and they only got one chance with that most hottest woman in the world, and that's all they'll ever get. It sucks. It happens. It sucks, and it's a very rare thing, and it happens.
You can't
the sad
admit
part about that is the same thing goes for women. Just because you got the hot guy one time and you had sex with the person, that doesn't mean he wanted you for life. That doesn't mean everybody wants you for life. The sad part about it is you basically have to stay within your own coverage until something comes along where you get lucky and maybe you might get lucky enough to actually kick out of your coverage again, or do anything, or maybe somebody will scoop you up basically. But at the end of the daggone day, when it comes to dating and delusional dating, the more delusional you are, the less options you have, the more likely you're going to be single. Both men and women. Bars.
The more delusional you are. You've always said that you only like dealing with women one at a time, and that's always been strange for people because they're like, well, how do you find the right? How do you find you kind of have.
Well, it's not even just that though. It's like when I say that, people misconstrue that. When I say I like dealing with women one at a time, I basically means I like dealing with one woman. That way I know if I'm actually messing with this woman, I know where I'm getting all my diseases from, and I know what's actually coming to me, and I know who to blame when I got to go smack somebody up, basically. That's what that means.
So then when it comes to...
When it comes to actually courting and dating, it's a matter of like picking out the right person and judging the people based on their responses, how they respond to me, their reactions, what they got going on in their lives, and their personality and overall character at the end of the day. A lot of people don't make it. A lot of people get weeded out in the beginning. A lot more people get weeded out in one process. And the sad part about that, unlike most people, I end up not taking that many people on dates because a lot of them got weeded out before the date process. A lot of people weed people out while taking them on dates and spending lots of money on dates, dinner dates, and dates in general. Nah, you only way you going out on a date with me unless you make it through the beer, unless you make it through the class basically to actually be able to go out with me basically on a date. I don't take everybody on a date to see and feel if that's the right person for me to take out on a date. I don't do that. No, that's not for me. I'm not spending that kind of money. You're not worth that time. You're not worth my time. Nor are you worth a date, basically, a dinner date or any date for me to spend money on you. Anytime I got to spend money on somebody, 9 times out of 10, they've made it through by a narrow margin or they made it through, period. If they don't make it through, they don't go on a dinner date. I'm not spending money on somebody I don't got time to spend money on, or somebody I don't deem necessary or worthy enough to spend money on.
But, I mean, can you really see somebody who was been delusional in the past, like going into and trying to like date somebody? It's almost like a reverse blue pill or something. Like they're going to try to date somebody that they weren't attracted to before because they think it's better than trying to chase.
It's not even about not attracted to, because the sad part about that is when it comes down to that, what I found out through dating and dating people is your initial attraction to somebody is just an initial attraction. That's basically your lust for somebody. That's all it is. It's nothing more. It's not even attraction. It's basically your lust for somebody, basically. I found people who've actually talked to people over a longer period of time and gotten to know people who didn't really think about the person, end up going back and second thinking of that person and end up thinking to themselves, well, yeah, that person's an interesting person. I might want to, take them up, sadly. The sad part about that is your initial want for a person is nothing more than lust. Because the sad part about that is the neat thing about when people find something highly attractive, one or two things are going off in their mind. It's kind of like the same thing for men. Like I say, ass and tits for men, the same thing for women, basically. She wants Mr. Right now, not Mr. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right. Well, you still have
There's a fundamental difference between Mr. Right and Mr. Right now.
Well, I'm just thinking like guys can still have that impulsivity to a girl that doesn't have the ass and tits.
Well, the same part about here's the problem with men. Just like we're taking on the one dude and the one server, men typically will stick their dicks in anything.
Yeah.
That's pretty much man 101. It doesn't matter how hot you are, don't matter how ugly you are. If a man really needs to get his nuts emptied, he's going to pretty much stick his dick in anything. It's that simple. So you can't really rely on men judgment basically, because 9 times out of 10, like they say, post nut clarity.
Yeah, or like a guy who's like, all right, I done messed around with all these girls. Now I'm gonna have a serious relationship. Now it's like, well. How does that happen? Like if you just we're sticking your dick in everything, and now now all of a sudden you're serious. Like I don't see the
Nine times out of 10, what's happening with that person is 9 times out of 10, like women, when they start turning 30, 40, 50,
yeah.
their options start dwindling.
Yeah.
So now they're going to take the next best option or the next best deal and settle down instead of trying to be lonely for the rest of their lives.
Well, that's the alternative, right? It's like either you settle or you just kind of you got to kind of be high in order to just be copacetic with being lonely forever. Like, or you got to have a game plan.
No, you ain't got to be high. The sad part about that is, case in point, like I said, I can actually be single for the rest of my life and not be bothered by it whatsoever, because I have that mentality and I have that person, because I'm a loner at the end of the day, whether we all like it or not. I'm a loner. I'm built to be a loner. I've always been built to be a loner. I've been taught to be a loner. I've been raised to be a loner. I've been raised to do things on my very own. But I do have the ability to be a team whenever I need to be a team player, sadly. But I'm basically built to do it alone, go through life alone. I'm basically, that's my mentality. That's how I was raised. That's how I was brought up. I was basically raised to be a loner. So I'm perfectly fine for all the jobs where you get to be a loner. The fundamental difference that's what makes it different between me and Win. Win is not really a loner. He's just not. He's not built to be a loner. He can possibly be a loner in the future, but Win's typically not a loner. Win technically needs that instinct, that the communication, unlike most other people, or unlike me. Win needs that constant communication or some type of communication between a human being or him, or a living thing in him, basically, so he can sustain life and not think about, I don't know, self-deletion or anything stupid like that. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
That's where we differ from, and that's just basically how we are. That's how we're built. Because like I said, I can be a loner. I can be a loner with children. I can be a loner without children. I can be a loner anywhere. I can be a loner, period. Because I'm a loner. That's typically. Plus, I'm an introvert, so it's like that makes it much easier because I'm always to myself and always in my mind any damn way. So it's one of those things where it's like I really don't need anything around me or the world around me. I ain't got no problem with learning and exploring the world around me, but typically I'm a loner for that very reason. So I don't have to worry about stuff like that, and you don't have to be high to be a loner. You just have to have the temperament for it and the character for it and the fortitude for it, for all intents and purposes. Case in point.
So you're saying you don't have to force yourself to be lonely. You just
I don't have to force myself to be lonely. I can be lonely. The sad part about that is most of my best times in my life were spent by my damn self, or doing something by my damn self, or traveling by myself. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had great times. I have great family and daughters and shit like that, and things like that. But most of my best times is basically me by myself, enjoying life at my pace, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like, think of it like this. It's kind of like when you go on vacation. You go with a group of people, and y'all want to do different things. You're trying to get somebody to go with you to do your thing, and nobody wants to go with you to do your thing. Now you get stuck doing all these other things. You never really get to do your thing. You know what I mean? Or you don't get to, you don't fully get to enjoy doing your thing, even though you went alone, because you wanted somebody to go with you. Me, I don't operate like that. If I want to go do something, I'm gonna go do it. If I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. I don't care if you're God, Pope, the Bishop, priest, Jesus. It don't matter. It's not happening. If I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. That's the neat thing about free will.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
so it's
they mostly just tell you like, oh, come on, sis, you got to be patient and just go through these motions, of like being with friends.
Here's the thing: you don't have to go through motions. The sad part about that is people make up these things so they can feel better about themselves, so they can cope with the fact that they suck at life or they suck at all this other stuff. It's all nothing more than a big coping mechanism, and all so you can have a feel good moment and so you can drink some Kool-Aid. That's all it the fuck is, to be honest with you. That's the sad reality when it comes to all these things, all these quotes, all these things, all this stupid stuff that they say on TikTok or all this stuff that they say about certain types of women. It's all about feeling good and women feeling good and men feeling good and you feeling good about your decision that you made in life at the end of the day. That's all it is. You want to feel good. You don't want to really hurt. You don't want to feel like it's all your fault. So you absorb all these quotes that they shoot your way so you can feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
For dopamine hits and rushes, basically. That's all it is. That's all it would ever be. Like all these quotes that you hear, well, oh, she's a tough lady. She had a rough life. You got to be patient with her. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. The sad part about that is at the end of the daggone day, if you look at that person's track history, if that person was able to function in a perfectly sound relationship multiple times, then all of a sudden now that they're in a good relationship and now they can't function, it's not your problem, it's their problem, and they need to work on themselves. And you need to drop that person like a bad habit. That's typically how that works. All those quotes are so they can make that person feel good about them mistreating you in a relationship when they went above and beyond for the people before you. It's basically like when we talk about sex in a relationship. If a person had sex with all these people before you and they're making you wait for sex, they're abusing you in a relationship. See what I'm saying? It's the same concept. If you know this person went above and beyond for all these other relationships, but they're not willing to do the same in this relationship or next relationship, basically. You see what I'm saying? You're basically abusing the person in a relationship, and you're basically taking advantage of the relationship, and you're basically just using the person at that point.
Yeah.
You're wasting their time. You're wasting everybody else's time because now you're just being a shitty person in a relationship because you can now. Because all the other relationships prior to that, you were on a shit end of the stick, and now that you got this person relationship, now you're putting that person on the shit end of the stick that you were on in those previous relationships. So that's nothing more than a coping mechanism. You don't have to wait for nobody. You don't have to do any damn thing. That person basically knows how to be a good person. They choose not to be a good person, if you know what I mean.
Well, exactly. They're like,
because case in point, if a woman was in a relationship and she was in an abusive relationship or a stupid relationship or somebody was cheating on her or somebody treated her like shit, but she was indebted to them or almost like damn near indentured servant to them, basically kissing their ass and following them around and trying to make it work and all this other stuff. And you mean to tell me now, all of a sudden out of nowhere, you don't know how to do any of this stuff anymore?
Shoot.
You see what I'm saying?
That's bull crap.
That's bullshit. I call bullshit, and I don't really care what you got going on. It's bullshit. You can't tell me you don't know how to do something when you've clearly done it multiple times before, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't work like that. It would never work like that. You know how to do it. It's kind of like knowing right from wrong. You basically know right from wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if you choose to do wrong, you choose to do wrong, and that's your fault. If you choose to do right by somebody, you choose to do right. But the sad part about that, these people have a habit of trying to blame previous relationships for how they treat a person in a current relationship.
I've said this before. When men and women know right from wrong. They know exactly.
The sad part about that is everybody knows right from wrong. Everybody does.
Exactly. Everybody knows right from wrong. The sad part about that is if you treated a person that was beating your ass in a relationship like gold, you treated the next person that treated like had poor communication and didn't really have any social skills and was only there when he wanted to be there and only there when by his own choice, but not when you actually needed the person, and you treated that person like gold. Then you turn around and treated a person that like a big ass child the whole entire relationship like gold. Then you turn around and treated somebody who was, I don't know, let's just say this person's the father of your children. You treat them like gold. And you keep on going. You treat all these shitty people like gold. But when a good person comes around, you treat them like shit. That's a problem within yourself. Mm-hmm. It's not the fact that you don't trust. It's the fact that you're being a shitty person because you have the opportunity to be a shitty person to somebody else because that person's being a nice person to you. That's all it is. There's no extra shit about it. You're just being a shitty person because you can now, because you have the power to be a shitty person in this situation at the end of the day. That's all it is. That's all it would ever be. There's no other way around it. You all have to suck it up and like it, basically. You as that person in that relationship, if you're on the receiving end of that shitty stick, you basically have to either A, get away from the shitty stick or drop that person like a bad habit.
because they have no excuse to treat anybody that way in a relationship when, in fact, they have a track record of treating people like gold.
Exactly.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean that's how they get their foot in the door in the first place, is by doing all a bunch of stuff that they would never do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Claiming that it's
And it's basically like a relationship. If a woman is in a relationship with a person and she's willing to do certain things with that person, but you claim this is your boyfriend, this is your true love, you're not willing to do any of the same things that you did with another person with this person, does that person really love you?
No.
Because they're not really giving you all of themselves at the end of the day, and they're only giving you glimpses and pieces of themselves at the end of the day. They're not giving you all of themselves. If they're able to do this with one person or another person, and they're not willing to do it with you, they're not willing to give themselves to you.
There's an aspect where, like, you might be like sleeping around with all these guys in previous relationships, and she's getting to fuel and supply from them. And then when she gets the new guy, if he's a nice guy, you know, he's loyal.
He might have to wait for sex for about 3 months or 6 months or something like that, or she want to wait till marriage all of a sudden, or you know, she used to do anal, she don't do anal no more, or she used to do intercourse in a car or on top of the car on the counter, but she only wants to do it in the bed, basically.
Get this. Basically, she don't do all that stuff with you.
It doesn't matter. But pretty much, But let Billy finish.
She's not going to do it with a new guy because he's obviously he's committed. He hasn't effed off. Like, he's still waiting, you know. So she's getting fuel from him just as much as she was getting it from the previous relationships. If, however, he turns around and says, "Right, I'm out of here," now maybe she might suddenly deliver, because
and that's typically how it works. Is men basically try to appease pussy in a relationship.
The more he tries to like win her affection and begs and pleads, I mean, not only is it like annoying her, but she doesn't see any reason why she should grant him his wish.
Yeah, because at that point, if you're going to be begging and pleading, she pretty much lost respect for you at that moment in time.
Yeah, she's getting her kicks off watching you grovel and bend over backwards trying to please her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I don't see it
earlier. Like, basically, she's abusing you.
If your way of getting sex is to grovel, and her way of being a good partner is just to sit there and accept the praise. There's no way that you guys can just be chill and relax because both of you have an agenda going into it on the relationship. One person wants to feel good, and the other person wants to get something.
Very much. That's pretty much how it works.
Well, yeah, and I mean, guys are shamed into not. I was just something auto played, and they were talking about, it was like these people talking about relationships and managing yourself, and then they were talking about how you're, like, oh, if you're dating a woman and she's very assertive, she's very independent, you can't really set boundaries with her, that she's going to. I think it's kind of like what you were talking about before, Tico, where you're talking about, like, she's hardened, she's experienced, she's going to do what she's going to do. And it didn't make any sense. They were just eating it up from her. Like, they're letting her decide what she needs to do. She was giving them a bunch of, like, sex ed stuff. She said, if a guy wants to procreate, he shouldn't jack off because that dilutes the sperm count, or you're putting younger sperm in there, which are going to die in a harsher.
What?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying, but everybody.
So you're listening to advice from the fish, not the fisherman.
Yeah, like how a fish likes to be caught. Like, I like to be caught with a full piece of bait and not just bits of bait.
Right. So
that's basically how you pick a personal trainer. Basically, if you pick a female personal trainer, you tell her your goals. You tell her your goals and how you want to. You basically tell her your goals and what you want to reach. Basically, your goals. She's basically going to try to get you in the image of what she likes in a man.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make it right for every woman? Is it right for every woman to like you? Basically, no. That's basically the image she's actually has in her mind of what she should look like. Basically, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's always funny you see on Twitch where like some guy is like looking for validation and a girl's like, "Oh no, don't cut your hair. I like it the way you are." And then you see the chat be like, "Don't trust her," because it's just like it's so weird because it's like it's a
Thing
common
is,
dynamic you see on Twitch where they're trying to like hero for the guy and try to get the guy to live his life as opposed to, doing something on stream or on camera just to make the
the,
one girl that's getting all that attention
the
like
thing is,
that person. It's so weird because it's like a snapshot
I
of
don't. Yeah,
instant
I,
gratification, like in time. It's funny.
I don't leave comment. I may watch women's streams, but I don't comment on women's streams, whether they're real life or VR. I watch, but I don't comment.
Hmm.
They got to that just like a while back. One of my people that I serve with, a chick, she's in the support division. Me and her are friends on Facebook. She noticed that I don't comment on her pictures. She asked me, "Why don't you comment on your pictures? Do you see them?" Yeah, I see them. You got plenty of other dudes commenting on your pictures for me. Why should I comment when other people are going to comment anyway?
Well, it's like what Tico said. It's like there's a cost. It may be a small cost, but there's a cost to commenting on something like that, especially if you are honest and truthful. There's a bit they're gonna want a chunk of meat from you if you like, depending on what exactly
Exactly.
you say. If you don't say the thing that's like you know, the most simped out, cucked out thing, then she's gonna use you to get clout on her channel or on her post.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
there's a cost that comes with everything too. You're not gonna
There's a
you,
cost.
and you gotta she's gotta she first off she's gotta prove that she's even this is why I laugh at the commenters where they're like, oh, 1 minute you're this way, the next minute you're this. It's just like, well, if you're gonna comment dumb shit, then I'm gonna treat it like it's what it is. If you're gonna comment like intelligently, then I'm not going to use that dumb stuff against you. That would be very petty. And
Exactly.
so
So
like that's my whole mentality. But with that, you just gotta, like I said, you just gotta let that because they have to earn that. They have to earn your perspective. They can't. They don't. They feel entitled to your comments.
exactly. And I don't give my comments out to women easily.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't give them out. They literally have to earn my perspective. They literally have to earn my comment, my insight. And so far, nobody on Facebook, nobody on YouTube, nobody on Twitch, nobody on social media has earned, no woman, except for maybe a select few, have earned my comment, have earned my perspective. You know, I'm not just going to give it out willy nilly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean they'll try to gaslight you and say that you don't. It's fine. This is a safe space. Like that's what this girl was doing in this thing I was
Exactly.
listening to. She was just trying
Eh,
to get the guys to open up. Like it's even gonna matter. Like it has any. Like them.
Like, like
Like
it's not going to be used against you.
they
Like,
always we're trying to get some stuff off of our chest, and it's just like it really isn't. It really isn't that deep. Like when it comes to just if it has to do with sex, just you could just manage it yourself.
right.
You don't have to have like this big formulaic process. Like my grandma used to tell me, she was like, everybody has the same exact parts. Now science and modern day, feminism might be mad at her, try to cancel her for saying that, but she had a good point. It's like when it comes down to sex, it's like, but they everybody has the same stuff, maybe different sizes or different uh different like be different proportions, but it's all the same. So there's no how are you going to be an expert in something that works the same no matter what. I mean, you could be everybody has different preferences, but at
Look,
the end of the
there's
day, all the same. It happens the exact same way, no matter who you are, no matter where you are.
the thing is, some people have it going in one out. Some people have it going in and then back out months later. You know,
Right. But yeah, guys, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. But I want to thank everybody for contributing to the topic. Cypher, Jack Murphy, Rifle, thanks for stopping by. And yeah, that's gonna be the Bleeding Edge, guys. Take care of yourselves. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do outros. Billy, Wind.
I'll go for. I'll go. Billy, you awake?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
He's awake.
Go ahead.
You doing outro, or you want me to start out?
Yeah, you can start out, mate.
All right. Instead of going out there, which is basically going out there looking for a potential partner with Johnson first, sometimes you might have to put post nut clarity into play before meeting that person. You know, before meeting that person, so that your fake head isn't clouded. Oh, and don't just give out your comments willy-nilly, freely. Sometimes you got to make people earn your perspective on things. And until that happens, just keep your comments to yourself and just watch, eat popcorn and hold the tail. Red Pill in the Wind signing off.
All right.
Very nice. I don't know what to say, really. Cover your bases. I don't know. Be some sensibilities, for Christ's sake. Haven't you been paying attention?
Yeah. I should be prepared to do the Bleeding Edge until you die. If you're not willing to do it until you die, get out now. That's my outro.
Hey, look, a motorcycle.
Whatever, you enjoy the Bleeding Edge. Don't act like you don't.
Hey, look, a motorcycle on 160 miles an hour. We'll fix that problem.
Facts.
I'm thinking about getting one.
Midstream, Wind just crashes his motorcycle, and he survives. His punk ass survives.
Right? And have to come back and do another stream.
You can't get out. I don't care if you're got in a car accident. You can operate StreamYard. That's how easy it is to use. Shout out StreamYard. Let's hit him with the music. Okay, that's enough of the music. Tico? You have any outro?
Basically, just improve yourself and improve upon yourself and make yourself a better person every day. And try to improve upon yourself and make yourself that better person. Never stay stagnant. Always try to grow. Always try to evolve. Always try to make yourself a better human being at the end of the day. Don't matter how long it takes you, year, decade, weeks, months, seconds, minutes, hours, years. Just do it. Always improve. Always look forward. Never look back. Treat yourself like milk. Do not spoil yourself.
Amen.
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah, it's good. Good points about Wind about comments. I'm gonna try to keep those. I'm gonna try to police my own comments too, because it's the quickness that's the temptation. You want to be quick. Everybody wants to be quick with their ideas, but you don't realize when you're quick, it's not all the time appreciated. It's hardly ever is it appreciated. They like to take advantage of the quick people and steal their ideas and use them for talking points in their next big scheme and their next big fucking, like, all this shit. Every time you comment, you basically put yourself out there to be misquote. It's funny how you put the comment down and they misquote you, and then you stay silent. All of a sudden they fly right. All of a sudden it's funny how that works.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. That's why I'll stay quiet.
Yeah. Anyway, guys. Yeah, exactly. That with speaking of quiet, we out. Peace. Is this the new outro, by the way, or the new intro?
This shouldn't be, no, because I'm still trying to get the timing down packed.
Okay, well, we'll just ceremoniously play this one. But yeah, peace out, guys. Thank you. Bye, niggas. Bye. Later.
Later.
That was a heavy swearing episode.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Who's perfections? Ooh, Sin City, Montana, Coke Boy. Ooh, we run the city. Homie tryna keep up. Ooh, they going broke. I'll finish your career. Ooh, get a rope.
Warning, 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 warning.
Dope money. Ooh,
That Montega.
in the spot, getting guap. Ooh,
That's hard labor.
in the club, popping bottles.
Yeah, we blowing that sour.
Handful of real niggas.
Rest of these niggas cowards.
How you want it?
How you want it?
Hands, gun, or the knife.
Soon as your man see the barrel,
He gon' run for his life.
bullets flying.
Bullets flying.